The future is bulletproof. The aftermath is secondary. It's time to do it now and do it loud. So Killjoys, let's make some noise. A circuit that has all the steeps of history. A circuit which has all the pace, all the ability, and it has all the trimmings to go with it. This is a circuit that does not get the credit that it deserves for putting on amazing racing time and time again. Upstate New York, Watkins Glen, and round 5 of the virtual racing school V8 Supercars online premiere series is here on iRacing Live and on V8 Online. I am your host for this one, Mr. Hashtag Do You Mind himself, the observer of sim racing. Jake Sperry joined with the Southpaw racer, Reese Gardner. Reese, I am G'd up and excited for this one. This is a circuit I have been waiting all season long to get to, because this is where we are going to see close racing at every single corner with an opportunity to pass on every single lap.
Yeah, definitely. Seriously, Watkins Glen, a super historic track in real life, a super historic track in terms of iRacing V8 Supercars as well. This is the cup layout that we're racing at tonight. And I tell you what, I say in the fact file that it provides oval-style pack racing in a road course environment. That statement is 100% true and backed up by provable evidence. You can go back through any broadcast we've done here and you'll see that the racing is absolutely crazy. It's a draft fest. Some would say a wreck fest. Oval racing, you get the big one sometimes. You definitely have a chance of getting the big one at Watkins Glen as well. A fantastic track, and I can't wait for tonight's racing either.
Well, I certainly am excited, but before we get excited, we need to delve into the past on this circuit. Southpaw racer, Reese Gardner, he's stood by with the facts and stats.
Upstate New York often gets glossed over in favor of the Big Apple down south. But to motorsport fans, the region has importance, for it is home to one of the finest and most historic circuits the USA has to offer, Watkins Glen International. Watkins Glen, in spite of modernization and safety improvements over the years, remains a circuit of its time, a window into racetracks of decades past. It has one of the highest average speeds of any circuit the V8 Supercar Online Premier Series visits, and combines elevation change and sweeping turns to create a circuit that is on the very edge of grip and sanity, and provides oval-style pack racing in a road course environment. The S's at the start of the lap are so close to flat out that it's tempting to push the limits, but walls will meet you if you do. Watkins Glen's story begins in the late 1940s. Races were organised on a loop of public roads around the village of Watkins Glen starting in 1948. The event was the brainchild of lawyer and Sports Car Club of America member Cameron Argetsinger, who was quoted as saying to the New York Times, "It's been said, and it's not entirely wrong, that I did it because I had an MGTC and didn't have a place to race it." The event was well received, spectators lining the sidewalks as the cars passed through town, but the 1952 event was marred by an accident in which a 7-year-old boy, Frank Fazzari, was killed, and several others injured. This and other incidents reminded everyone of the dangers of open road racing, and though the Watkins Glen races continued at a different course to the southwest, plans were made to construct a permanent road course facility, to be the second ever in the United States after Road America. The track was completed in 1956 and by 1961 had been chosen as the home of the Formula One United States Grand Prix, which it would be for 19 years, longer than any other circuit to date. In 1971, the track was altered, constructing the location for a new start line and pit lane that was finished in 1972, along with the boot layout extension. A chicane at the S's was added in 1975 in response to the deaths of Francois Sever and Helmut Koenig in years previous, but as cars continued to get faster, the track became more unsafe to race on, and when Formula One left after the 1980 race, the track closed in 1981, bankrupt. Fortunately, the track was reopened in 1984 after being purchased by Corning Enterprises and International Speedway Corporation, and hosted high-profile racing once again with the S's chicane removed. In an official sense. If you look closely, the patch of tarmac where the chicane lay is still there. NASCAR began racing at the circuit in the latter half of the 1980s, and Watkins Glen's profile grew once again. One final alteration to the layout was made in 1992, installing the inner loop chicane in response to more high-speed accidents at the end of the long straight. And so, here we are today, with Watkins Glen playing host to scores of grassroots motorsport events, plus NASCAR races, and a slot in the IMSA Sports Car Championship. This track has always thrown up an exciting race in the iRacing V8 supercars, typically on the Cup layout. A part of this collection of series since the very beginning, it's one of the tracks we always look forward to every season. Sit tight, find something to hold on to, and enjoy.
And there we see the facts and stats of Watkins Glen, a place steeped in so much racing history that you would not believe how beautiful this circuit has been going through the years, and especially in sim racing as well. This circuit has held a lot of history. You can go into any series, you can look at a Watkins Glen race, and you can say that a defining moment at some point has happened here. And Reese, you've been in V8SCOPS longer than I have. You understand just how important this track is to the V8SCOPS series.
Yeah, certainly. It's one of our marquee events, this race at Watkins Glen, and for very good reason. You know, we discussed the fact that the draft plays a huge part here. Going up through those S's in a V8 supercar is absolutely terrifying at the best of times. And overtaking moves going into that bus stop chicane on the back straight, they take a lot of courage, they take a lot of luck. They don't often work out, though. It's going to be an interesting race for sure.
You certainly bet it will, because before we go to our main event here on V8SCOPS, we're going to take you to Super Split 2 action. And this, in terms of its action, in terms of what it can do, it certainly can be an aggressive race. It is elbows out, because all of these drivers are racing for one lucky space, a transfer spot as it will, Reese, to get themselves into the main event.
Yes, indeed. As we have seen in past rounds, the winner of Split 2 gets to go forward into Split 1, a chance to race in the main game against the people that pre-qualified better than they did. But, of course, your racing ability is going to be what counts here, and it's what's going to get you a spot in the Glen 250 here at Watkins Glen. So, currently, at the top of the timesheets in practice, Thomas McMillan, and fairly certain that he will be starting on pole for this race, considering the pre-qualifying times. We're looking at lap times of about maybe 1:11 in terms of one lap pace, but I think we might dip into the 10s on race pace once the draft comes into play.
Well, the draft is going to be so vital, especially coming out of the 90, heading up through the S's section, and then looking for the bus stop at turn number 4 before you hit the long 180-degree carousel, which you can so easily wash out on for the circuit that we race here today. Just 20 seconds remain then in practice before we get ourselves to our official starting grid for this one. 30 laps worth of action today, 50 minutes on the clock, whichever comes first. And if there was any circuit which had the potential for cautions to be thrown, we saw one last time out in Super Split 2. We hope that we don't see one again. The flag, though, flies out. Checkered is in the air in upstate New York. The grid will be as follows. So Matt Morris will be on pole position with Thomas McMillan joining on the front row. Jamie McKnight and Stuart Vaughan, 3rd and 4th, with Adam Wyborn in 5th. Stephen Lattimore will start from 6th position. Bob King and Benjamin Smith will start 7th and 8th, with Joshua Bird in 9th. and Damon Mulqueen rounds 10.
Yes, indeed. And of course, once again, I got it wrong. Talking about McMillan in 11th place, Simon Black. Paul Jones in 12th, with Brenton O'Brien lining up in 13th. Henry King and Matt Muggleton are 14th and 15th. Darren Lord and Paul Preston, along with Ian Bird, Sean Thompson, and Michael Hammond on the timesheets, rounding out the top 20.
Stacey Walker from 21st with Guy Leach, Shane Rayner, Joel Kenton, Conor McCluskey-Young, Stuart Crawford, John O'Freeman, Daniel Misdale with Damon Stockton, and of course Cody Traynor makes 30.
Shannon Mason in 31st, 32nd Nathan Tregarthen with Jacob Knight, Adrian Zelle, and Graham Filan rounding out the top 35, and completing your field Wayne Hewitt, Jamie Owens, and Simon Mazzomo. 38 cars and the green flag is out.
Here we go. It's a slow start from Matt Morris as McMillan goes to the 90, looks to get the run as we get ourselves underway for 30 laps, 3 wide into the 90 then for the first time, and it means that it is all plain sailing for the moment at the front of the field. The 90 is a bottleneck. You must be careful about how that bottleneck works, because you look in the middle of the pack, drivers may be thinking about changing lanes. Matt Muggleton, for example, is in this battle with Henry King as they come up the S's for the first time and looking for the run to the chicane. This is what dreams are made of.
It certainly is, and you know what? This is one of the big choke points here coming up to the chicane. McMillan just holding off Matt Morris there at the front as they come into the carousel. I'm looking back in the field to see if anything happens. Looks like we've got a couple of drivers going side by side, Sean Thompson and Paul Jones. Have a look at Jones trying to hold the outside around the carousel. Unfortunately, he's not able to do it. He does get a little bit of a run on Michael Hammond, though. And meanwhile, the leaders, Matt Morris, he's going to try and take the lead from Thomas McMillan, but it looks like he's just, oh, goodness me, really jostling there. Bit of contact a few times, but they just managed to hold on.
Yeah, tries to go for the inside then at turn number 7. Very difficult on the run to 8 to make it work. Looking again to the inside at turn number 1. Unable to make it happen. Look for the inside. Bit of contact between them. They all hold it together, but this just compromises all of their runs. It allows now Jamie McKnight in the mix. It allows Stuart Vaughan in the mix. It's the train of 4 as Benjamin Smith desperately tries to get onto this one. So eyes to Vaughan. He wants to make the move for 3rd. He's tucked right underneath. He'll look for the inside then potentially as he looks to make the run. He's got to be brave on the brakes. He's not brave on the brakes. He'll switch for a better opportunity. You have to be right alongside to make a move when you get into the bus stop.
You certainly do, and you saw McMillan there going preemptively defensive against Morris, but he didn't need to do it. Looking to me like Matt Morris is incredibly hungry to get that lead back. You saw how aggressive he was on the back of McMillan. Here we go. Might he try that move again? He's pulling out. He's having a look, but it looks like he's not going to go for it. Meanwhile, have a look at Vaughan. He's going for it on Jamie McKnight. Oh.
I think he is. Oh, he's trying, but you get stuck on the outside at the final corner. You have to then go for an up and under. This allows Benjamin Smith to get into the party, and we definitely say party in the early going. So it's about positions, how you gain. Here comes Vaughan down the inside at the 90, and now look at this. Smith may go for the up and under. No, there's a bit of contact. Gives him the shove. Wanted to go underneath both of them. It didn't work. Vaughan now checks up. Now look at the train. King, Latimer, Burden, Mulqueen trying to get on. Matt Muggleton trying to get on. And then you've got Evolution Racing Team boss Brenton O'Brien in the next pack wanting to get to the front. Side by side. Burden now with Latimer.
Yes, and Bob King got his run compromised through the S's, just ran a little wide. This could get interesting. They're almost going 3 wide. Burden now on the inside of Lattimore, a little bit of contact. He's going to lose out on the outside. Meanwhile, Matt Muggleton struggling to find space there with Damon Mulqueen. Burden having the inside now through the carousel. Is he going to be able to get the traction down and get past Lattimore? No. Lattimore gets the run. A little bit of traction there on the outside where it gets really banked on the outside of the carousel. Bob King has run away with that.
Server lag for the Amazon-sponsored machine. They need to find a little bit more. You got to get deep in the jungle. There ain't no blood on these streets as he looks for an opportunity. It's not quite working out. Oh yeah, it's 9 o'clock in the morning and we're making puns. Let's get this show on the road. Lap number 4 of 30. One pit stop, remember, required here today, Reese. And that one pit stop could change a lot. And we've got a vehicle around.
Yeah, we certainly have one vehicle around. It looks to me as though it is Jamie Owens and Daniel Misdale who came together there. So That's going to be a bit awkward for those guys. Coming up to the pit window, there's no pit window, actually. You can pit any time you like. The fuel restriction is 60%, or 67.2 litres, so we should expect these guys to be pitting at some point around the halfway mark, I think.
Some way around the halfway. Of course, this is one of the circuits that you talk about, Reese, that has one of the highest fuel usages because you really are applying the power again to Jamie McKnight and Stuart Vaughan, the battle for third position out on circuit because Vaughan's looking for a move. If you're using all that fuel, you may decide to stay behind, but down to the inside goes Stuart Vaughan. But once again, we're seeing that you can hold it too wide, but has made the move stick at the notorious turn 7.
Yes, indeed. So it looked to me like Jamie McKnight saw Vaughan coming, figured, you know what, he's technically from the same team as me. I'll just let him go, hitch in behind. Maybe they can do a little bit of tandem drafting to try and catch up to McMillan and Morris up the front. They have stuck together like glue.
They certainly have, and of course, remember, one transfer spot available. So right now, it's a battle of 2 between Thomas McMillan and Matt Morris. And this is clever because they've already got a 1.3 second gap now to Vaughan and McKnight. They want it to be a battle of 2 and not a battle of 12.
Yes, indeed. Oh, they're going 3 wide in the background, sorry. Brenton O'Brien, Henry King, and Michael Hammond in one hell of a battle. King going for the move at the chicane. Oh, a little bit of contact between him and O'Brien. King sliding. They're going to go side by side here. Hammond wants to get in on this, and wow, have a look at that. Lots of jostling there.
And O'Brien still trying to hold that outside line on Henry King and just runs a little bit wider there. Further forward, Stephen Lattimore trying to have a battle, and he's not going to be able to get past Matt Muggleton. In fact, the other way. Back to Brenton O'Brien, still down the inside then at turn 7. We'll have to go the long way around at 8, but look at Hammond down the inside. He thought he gets boxed out, though, so here's an opportunity to the 90, and there was a chance to make that move. Hammond, you idiot, you couldn't quite make that move done.
Certainly. Henry King and Brenton O'Brien going side by side into turn 1. Will O'Brien be able to hold it? No, he hasn't. He's gotten a very bad run out of there. That's going to let Hammond through. Possibly Guy Leach? No, Leach is going to yield and let O'Brien back into that train. Meanwhile, a little bit further up ahead, Stephen Lattimore and Damon Mulqueen are having a bit of a draft fest coming up to the chicane. We'll see what happens here.
Well, no move then into the chicane, but a chance to pick up the run on the exit, get a shot at the carousel. Sometimes that is the underrated move. You go at the carousel because if you can just force someone off that inside line, because it's so easy to wash out at the carousel, Reese, do you feel that just getting a nose in would be enough to try and commit to a move?
I certainly think so. I mean, if you try and put that move on one of the guys in the top 10 in split 1, I don't think they would be as susceptible to a move like that. They do have a bit more experience on their hands, and we saw an incident like that end pretty badly between Richard Hampstead and Jake Burton last year, if I remember correctly. So it's definitely possible, but you have to consider who you're racing against.
Paul Jones onto the lane, first taker of the pit stoppers. A side by side again. Brenton O'Brien goes deep. That allows Guy Leach to go through, as we do have Henry King still battling it out with Michael Hammond. Hammond on that inside will switch to the outside. Will then switch back to the inside for turn number 4. He does not have the run. You won't be able to make things happening. But now you will see that the pit stop window is open, Reese. And this is where it's open season, because you don't just want to come in onto pit road, you want to come in onto pit road and have a partner to draft with.
Yeah, that's certainly 100% the problem that these guys face as King. Oh, bad run out of the carousel. Bad run out of the chicane, but Hammond was unable to make it work. Yeah, you really got to be careful with how you make your pit stop here. You want to be able to come out with someone, otherwise you're basically done. You've also got to consider that the pit entry to Watkins Glen is on the inside of the last corner, and you'll see guys slowing up really hard on the inside of the last turn to try and make it work, and Hammond goes round the outside of King as he does exactly what I was talking about there, pulling into the pits, so he's jumped.
Matt Morris has lost the position. That was at turn number 7. He made a mistake then. He just ran too deep into the one-line suits all corner. He just gets it on the grass, and that allows Vaughan up into second position. A Stuart Vaughan who is absolutely charging.
Yeah, he certainly is. Stuart Vaughan's just really come out of nowhere these last few laps. He's definitely got the pace, but McMillan has quite the lead up ahead of them. Wondering if that's going to factor into this. When's McMillan going to jump?
Well, that's going to be an important one because McMillan can basically wait for Stuart Vaughan to make the decision to come down onto the lane. He can just play the waiting game, as it were, and just go, you know what? I'll just cover your move next lap. That's the sort of strategy that he's got to play at the moment, does the All-Star Motorsports machine of Thomas McMillan. It's a waiting game. And we are seeing now that these gaps, whilst they are all within a second, is open. Slow vehicle, Damon Mulqueen having himself a few issues. I believe that is a slowdown penalty potentially there, Reese.
Yeah, possible. Where is Mulqueen? Oh, he's blown his engine. Yeah,
oh
so
goodness.
that's the problem there. So hold on a minute. I'm just going to rewind and see what happened. At the bus stop, it seems that... yeah, I think he took a little bit too much curb on the entry, and that's where he got his slowdown from. But yeah, I don't know where the blown engine came from.
Well, the blown engine has come and it has gone, and he is on the lane. So he has managed to get it off the track safely. No need for a caution. Back of the field, though, Graham Fyland and Sean Thompson having this battle with Simon Mazzomo and Wayne Hewitt all in the scrap as well. This one really down for the positions 23 through 26. And here comes Hewitt looking for the inside on Simon Mazzomo and the FT1 machine. Looking for the chance, but it's so difficult to get it too wide through the chicane without losing time. I think he's trying to pick something up on the exit. Up and under, he tries, and a big wheel from Mazzomo to boot.
Yeah, certainly, and that what Hewitt just did there is textbook move through the bus stop. He just took that tighter line. Oh, have a look at Mazzomo going to the inside, but Hewitt staying right in the middle of the circuit, giving Mazzomo a little bit less room than he probably wants. They managed to hold it too wide through the second last turn, and this has brought Adrian Zelle and Jacob Knight into this. Now Zelle is trying to harass the back of Mazzomo. He manages to not get the run. Jacob Knight, meanwhile, he's got the draft. So Mazzomo, this is his first time racing in V8SCOPS, and it's a baptism of, well, not fire, probably hot sauce.
Yeah, something like that. So that certainly does seem to be the case. Your top four, by the way, still remain as follows. McMillan leads, Vaughan in second, Morrison third, Jamie McKnight in fourth position. But crucially, watch the gap between Vaughan and McMillan. It is hovering over that 1 second margin. That 1 second margin that means that the draft becomes more stronger, more powerful, Reese, every single time that you're going around the circuit. I think that's what we're seeing here. A Stuart Vaughan, that wants to get himself into position. A Stuart Vaughan that wants to be challenging McMillan for the race lead.
Yeah, well, he's certainly taken a big chunk out of Thomas McMillan there. 2/10 faster that last time around. Oh, have a look at that. Jamie McKnight getting up the inside of Matt Morris on the exit of turn one. Very well done from him to get into position. And Matt Morris, big slide. Oh, goodness me, just managed to recover that. Excellent recovery from Matt Morris, but that means that he's sitting duck in the straight line with Benjamin Smith coming up behind him here. Matt Morris down from pole position, down to second, and now fighting to keep fourth place. He won't be too happy with events that have transpired.
We know the iRacing Indy 500's in a week's time, but there was no need for a push to pass like that. So there's Jamie McKnight forcing his way through up into third position, but look at the time that it has lost them right now to Vaughan and to McMillan, because those two now are checking out of their hotel and going off to P1 and P2ville. Still the attack, though, coming through for Matt Morris. He looks to try and force something to work in his favour. He will be in the tow for this one. Behind that, though, Bob King and Matt Muggleton having a nice little scrap. This one, P7, P8. Matt Muggleton has made some great progress so far this race.
Yeah, he certainly does. From 15th up to 8th and harassing the back of Bob King, who remains in the position that he started in. So up in front of them, Josh Burden seems to be holding station pretty well, but as you said, Matt Muggleton, has a big twitch in turn two. So I think, he's struggling. He's really struggling through that set of turns, but we'll see what happens in the second half of the circuit. He just needs to stay in touch with Bob King here and keep his run going.
Oh, what a little wiggle from Matt Morris. He looked to attack the driver of Jamie McKnight. That almost gave the faintest whiff of an opportunity to Benjamin Smith. Smith thought he had a chance at getting himself that opportunity. So now Smith's going to use the toe, maybe even going to look down to the inside here to turn number 7, which is proving to be a prime overtaking opportunity here today.
McKnight wide.
Able to make that, but that was a little bit wide. Good line actually from Matt Morris as well to cover off the move.
Yeah, certainly. And you know what, Matt Morris, given the way McKnight got past him, a bit of a bump into turn 1, I think Morris just needs to focus on trying to pass McKnight back in a clean way, because it looks to me like McKnight is struggling a little bit with his car behavior. Morris just needs to be decisive and assertive with his move.
We also see down on the lane Bob King, one of the first to dive in. We also see on the lane the driver Stephen Lattimore, but we're going to stay with this one for the moment because Jamie McKnight may have to go defensive here, may have to go to the inside. Doesn't do so. Matt Morris is going to go for it. He's going to try and get it, and gives him no track there and gets the position and pretty much gives him to the walls, because now Ben Smith wants the chance to make the move. Great little pass there from Matt Morris. One up, your son.
Yeah, very good pass from Matt. Just that was exactly what I was talking about before. It was decisive, it was assertive, and it basically left McKnight with no alternative other than to yield. So well done to Matt. Meanwhile, have a look at Benjamin Smith. He was very aggressive into there, and he's lost a bit of ground there to McKnight. I'm wondering if this is going to turn into a bit of a, oh, hang on a minute, McKnight goes for the pits.
Yeah, McKnight dives down onto the lane, so he's going to make his stop, and he's always been there or thereabouts. Split 2 action. Battle for the lead, though, is within 0.4 of a second at the moment. Stuart Vaughan has closed that gap up then to Thomas McMillan at the front of the field, and there's a reason why we pay a lot of attention to that. Of course, we talk about the transfer position, but Stuart Vaughan has been in the position of almost getting himself into top split races on more than one occasion so far this season. Thomas McMillan, arguably you'd say, is a driver who should never even be in split 2 racing. He should be up there in that top split because he's more than capable enough.
Yeah, certainly. We've seen Thomas McMillan in top split before, so yeah, to see him in split 2 is a little bit out of the ordinary. Meanwhile, Stuart Vaughan has the mother of all opportunities here to try and make good on a promise that he's been making for quite some time. But these are both pretty skilled drivers who would arguably both deserve to be in split 1. So it'll be an interesting battle between these guys when it eventually comes around. And I say when because it's pretty much a certainty. Have a look at how close Stuart Vaughan is now.
Well, it was 0.4 of a second when they last crossed the line. Now it comes down. It's just 0.005 of a second's difference between them as we look at those coming on the lane. Josh Burden, Matt Morris, Matt Muggleton, Michael Hammond. This is firmly pit stop territory. Brenton O'Brien, who pits in from 9th position. And hold the press if Brenton O'Brien gets another sparey. V8's online Discord is going to go insane.
It certainly is. Brenton got his first sparey just the other week, and he was absolutely elated, probably going to frame it and put it on his wall. Meanwhile, the pits have become a flurry of activity. Sean Thompson coming in as well. Hammond just exiting his bay, as well as Burden and Morris.
And Muggleton has leapfrogged Matt Morris in the stops and stayed just behind Jamie McKnight. They're now on the train of Mazomo, Zele, Jacob Knight, Wayne Hewitt. They all have to make some moves. They all have to get going. So now it's a question of, can they use the draft and make their way through the field? That's the next question that gets asked. Vaughan, though, versus McMillan. Will they dive in? One dives in, one stays out. So in comes Thomas McMillan, and Damon Stockton there on pit entry was sideways, and that was almost a very lackadaisical bit of contact.
Yeah, Benjamin Smith would have had absolutely nowhere to go if Stockton had made contact with the pit wall. Of course, Stockton carrying a bit of damage as well from opening laps drama. So this is crucial for McMillan. He needs to absolutely nail this stop if he wants to have any chance of keeping that lead. Meanwhile, Vaughan is going to have to watch to see how long McMillan was in his bay, see what he has to do in his stop. McMillan already away, so that was a nice quick pit stop from him. Just comes out behind Nathan Tregarthen, who has made his way now up to a top position. He's staying out. We should expect him in pretty soon.
Oh, Ben Smith coming out of pit road and wanted to go side by side and will do. Jamie McKnight unable to make that work. He doesn't have the run, but look at that cutback. He's going to go the long way round. Leave the door open now for the driver, Matt Muggleton in the middle. He tries to shove him down to the inside. He doesn't want him going through. He's got no choice. Down the inside goes Matt Muggleton. Bit of contact between the pair, but Muggleton makes it stick.
Wow, that was incredible. That was a great bit of racing, and Matt Morris has seen all of this, and he wants in. Have a look at him harassing the back of Benjamin Smith here. Meanwhile, Jamie McKnight versus this hard-charging Matt Muggleton. I'm interested to see how that is going to turn out, because you can see Muggleton, he's jumping out and having a look at just about every opportunity he can.
In the pits, he needs to come out of the pits very soon.
There we go, and Morris and Benjamin Smith making contact, and Morris has made his way past, probably not in the cleanest circumstances. He went for the move there at the last turn, but wasn't quite there.
No, it wasn't, and Stuart Vaughan has lost out big time in the stops. There's a gap and a big gap for Thomas McMillan. Battle for third, Matt Muggleton, who started position 15, now battling for net fourth on the road, net third even on the road. He thought about the inside. That was never going to be given there from the driver of Jamie McKnight. McKnight then will look to take the road away from Matt Muggleton, who's now got to try and find the run up and under. Doesn't work. And there we go. Wide he goes out of the carousel. You can see, well, into the carousel. He was pushing so hard to try and make something happen. Now he's with Benjamin Smith. Oh my goodness, that was power and torque and sliding and a half.
Certainly, and it was all because he took a bit too much curb on that third part of the carousel. Got to be very careful with the curbs through there. Getting a CPR Kart Parts replay of that incident. I got to say, well held by Matt Muggleton. If it was me, I'd have been in the wall last week.
Well, I would have been in the wall 3 centuries ago. Oh, he's and slow, Matt Morris. I think he's redressing here. I will definitely say that the redress hasn't caused that.
Yeah, certainly. That's, oh, goodness me. Have a look at this. Morris already with another run. Oh, goodness me, as we go back live. This is pretty intense now between Matt Morris and Benjamin Smith. Have a look at the slide from Matt Morris. He's just barely managed to hold it. And Josh Burden will have seen that and will be wanting to get a bite of this pasty. Have a look at the run that he has there into the chicane. I'll tell you what, Matt Morris, it's happening again. He needs to just calm himself down a little bit.
Yes, he certainly does. Josh Burden sees that Matt Morris is almost wrestling an octopus at this stage. He's all over the place. He wants to try and find himself an opportunity to get through, gain another position. And it's those positions gained that always seems to get those drivers excited. You give them a bit of scraps, you give them a few morsels, and they will jump on it like a pack of wolves. And that's what we need to see from the racing. That's what all these drivers want. Just to give you an opportunity to say what's the gap at the front right now, net between Vaughan and McMillan, because Tregarthen and Kenton have yet to come down onto the lane. That gap is 2.4 seconds at the moment, and Vaughan was a 1/10 of a second quicker on that last time by. He's trying everything to get through with 12 laps to go.
He certainly is, and you know what? I don't know if he'll have the... Wow, okay, hang on a minute. Is Tregarthen slow in a straight line? Did he lift? Yeah, looks to me like he just braked early to let Vaughan go. I mean, Vaughan probably would have appreciated that, but at the same time, that was some valuable draft time that he lost out on.
Yeah, but Nathan Tregarthen, though, you could argue is doing the right thing because he hasn't come down onto the lane race. He's in no reason to battle with Stuart Vaughan.
He certainly is, but yeah, I'm always thinking from the perspective of this is a track where you get as much draft as you can, and you know, regardless of whether someone has pitted or not, if I was in that position, I'd be going, please, just stay in front of me for a couple of seconds longer so I can get a bit more pace.
Connor McCluskey Young in the 969 down to the inside at turn 7 against Ian Bird, and Bird on the outside just about holds the line, so he'll have the inside. But look at this outside track. that McCluskey Young is going to hold. He's going to be able to get the power down all over the grass as well. Just robbed him of any form of momentum off the exit. And that was a beautiful, beautiful move done. Out of pit road as well comes the driver of, I believe that's Joel Kenton.
Yes, indeed. Joel Kenton just exiting the pits now. So there's only one car left to make a pit stop, and that is Nathan Tregarth. And Kenton comes out alongside Sean Thompson, who promptly dives around the outside of turn 2. So now it's Kenton. Oh, he's in a bit of a bad position here because he's got cars behind him who have a better run out of turn 1. Remember, the pit exit is just after turn 1. So you exit the pits and you've got that whole straight to lose pace to the cars around you. So no chance of Joel Kenton keeping those couple of positions, but he's already on the back of Cody Trainer, wanting to try and get that back.
Well, Trainer's just gone through, so he's made that one look pretty easy. Shannon Mason then battling Ian Bird. Bird's going backwards on the brakes to the inside. Tries Mason, but he is robbed of any opportunity there. He was worried, as now Matt Morris looks to try and get himself in this scrap and try and get further forward. Let's keep an eye on this, because he's through on Benjamin Smith, and look at this, Smith's going to come straight back at him, surely.
Oh yeah, well they're tempted to go side by side through the S's, but not happening. Smith just took a little bit too much curb there, and that has sent him wide through turn 4. And Josh Burden is now well and truly in this battle. Meanwhile, side by side behind them, that's Bob King and Michael Hammond. Hammond going around the outside into the bus stop chicane. So that's that move done. But this battle for on-track 6th place right now, Morris, Smith, and Burden, looks to be heating up. Morris, huge slide, and Burden, a huge slide as well. So as I say that, it looks like the battle, no longer a 3-car battle.
Tyres starting to fall away potentially a little bit more, and you can't afford to let those tyres go off. It's pretty much driving on ice at any given point. Leaders, though, really starting to close down. That gap was 2 seconds. It's now down to 1.7. Stuart Vaughan is on a charge, running very, very low 112s. 80 thousandths off of breaking the 111s. It's a 112.2 at the moment for Thomas McMillan. That's not good enough.
No, certainly not. It's... it's 30 laps, so we got to think if Stuart Vaughan takes like 3/10 of a lap out of McMillan, is he going to be by him by the end of the race? Most likely, but that of course isn't taking into account the defense game from McMillan, which we know is pretty spirited.
And we know that being elbows out at Watkins Glen, this is a track and car combination that suits the driving style of Thomas McMillan.
Yeah, it certainly does. So it should be interesting when these guys come together. Once again, I say when, not if, because Stuart Vaughan, he's really taking chunks of time out of McMillan right now. But time is running out.
Yeah, time most certainly is running out. 8 laps to go as they cross the line. It's a 112.1. It's a response from Thomas McMillan. That gap still comes down, though. It's another 112 flat from Stuart Vaughan. Almost metronomic in the way that he is closing down that gap. Last few laps. Let's get a look at those last few laps. He's gone 112 flat, 111.9, 112 flat, 112 flat. That tells you how Stuart Vaughan is able to hold a pace and hold a pace to a beautiful standard.
Yeah, certainly. Fantastic driving from Vaughan so far. Meanwhile, I'm looking back in the field because we've got a 4-car battle on our hands. Ian Bird, Shannon Mason, Connor McCluskey Young, and Stacey Walker. They're all jumping together there behind Henry King. So I tell you what, sorry?
Hasn't Brenton O'Brien just completely dropped off of that group then on that last lap?
Yeah, interesting. So he must have had a spin. Yeah, he's got a bit of damage as well.
Oh my goodness, it was contact with McCluskey Young through the chicane.
Oh, yeah.
So McCluskey Young was all over the apex and then all over the grass as well. Nowhere to go for O'Brien, and O'Brien will be very unhappy about the way that incident occurred.
Yeah, certainly. Wow, that was a fair whack that he got in the chicane. So replay on screen at the moment so you can see what happened. As you said, Jake, Brenton O'Brien will not be a happy camper at all.
A very hefty shunt there on the side door. That's not going to be very, very useful. What is useful, though, is Stuart Vaughan's gap, now 1.3 seconds, closing down. So more and more, Thomas McMillan is looking less and less secure for that transfer spot. 6 laps to go in the cross line. Side by side, though, Muggleton struggling because Benjamin Smith breezed by on the run to the chicane. In fact, lost more than just one position at that point.
Yeah, certainly, but Morris's run was a little,
Oh, he
I
got the
completely
wall.
lost the word, but really?
Yeah, he got the wall through turn 3. That's what's caused him to lose all that momentum. Matt Muggleton, he was pushing.
Oh, yeah, certainly, and it looks like it's gotten the better of him there. So now he's facing an attack from Josh Burden. Oh, Morris running wide and sliding through the last turn. Will he be able to defend from Burden through here? Looks like Burden's gone for the dive around the outside. He has gotten that done quite easily, and Matt Muggleton actually, yeah, going for the pits.
Well, that's going to be heavy. I guess that's the black and orange flag being flown as well. So what a shame that is going to be for Matt Muggleton as he drops himself out of the battle. 1.1 seconds now for Stuart Vaughan. It's almost like he's reeling in a carp, the way that he is trying to just take the bait, reel himself in, and then take the line and the fish to go home with.
Yeah, certainly. That battle for the lead still chipping away lap after lap. But the last couple of laps, I've actually been looking at this battle from 14th backwards. Ian Bird has run away with it, but those guys have really changed in terms of position. Henry King is now almost at the back of that pack, so he's really lost out these last few laps. Have a look at McCluskey Young versus Shannon Mason. This is going to be interesting coming down to the bus stop. McCluskey Young staying in the middle of the circuit, but Mason, will he be able to go around the outside? No. It looks like he's actually gone across the grass as well. That run has been completely ruined, and now Stacey Walker is heading up this freight train trying to get Shannon Mason.
Well, they're all going to work. Joel Kenton, of course, at some stage was leading the event, wants to try and take some positions away. They are running out of time, though. This is where we talk about elbows out. This is where we talk about get your priorities straight, because this is now one move, and you've got to make the perfect moves in the final stages.
Yeah, you do. Like all the work that you've... Oh, goodness me. Yeah, all the work that you've done through the race can be all for naught as Kenton slots in behind Stacey Walker. You really have to be careful in these final stages. There's always a chance that you can recover from an earlier incident, but if you're in a good position and you end up screwing yourself over by being too aggressive, as I say that, Kenton and Walker are going side by side through the S's. Is Walker going to hold it here? Kenton turning in on Walker a little bit there, a little bit of room. And these guys are teammates as well, so they're definitely not adverse to a bit of elbows out.
Tempo gets raised. Side by side, Cody Trainer wants to get in. Also, Jono Freeman wants to get in the mix as well. Jono looking to go for the inside then at the carousel. Room not given. Opportunity lost as he now starts washing out a little bit in the mid part of the apex. Great battle between all of those drivers, but the gap remains 1.1 at the front of the field. 4 laps to go. Battle for the podium not over either. McKnight and Morris, they have come together already in this event, and I think Matt Morris wants that podium spot to prove that he can get past the driver of Jamie McKnight.
Yeah, certainly. It's all up to Matt Morris here to try and make that move and make it stick. It's up to McKnight to try and get the maximum defensive drive on, but I'll tell you what, around a place like this, it's going to be difficult if Matt Morris continues getting the runs down the straights like he's having at the moment. He's being very aggressive, keeping that inside line there into the carousel. It's an interesting bit of a course, actually. There's multiple lines that you can take, which is really interesting. You can see different drivers experimenting with those lines, but once again, the run is there. It's just McKnight seems to be a little bit better out of the corners at the initial stage.
Well, that's just the difference in setup. So Morris is going to try and open out the final run of the corner. Look to get that opportunity. Hard to the pit wall goes McKnight. He doesn't want to give it into the 90, but has he shown his hand far too early? Around the outside, Matt Morris tries, but he gets a big slide because he's off of the racing line into the marbles, and there is the position gone. The opportunity lost. That will allow Benjamin Smith the chance to get back in at the front. Gap 8 tenths and traffic approaching, but to Benjamin Smith, he wants position 4 now.
Yeah, and he's definitely got a chance as well. Going side by side through turn one, it looked like McKnight and Morris both suffered from slides. Because McKnight was on the inside of that bank turn, he was able to hold it. Have a look. Matt Morris, though, has gained all of that time back, as I'm seeing Connor McCluskey-Young has a black flag handed down to him from race control.
That's a 30-second stop and hold penalty. That is heavy, and that would be for the incident with Brenton O'Brien. No remorse in that stage, but to the front of the field, because Stuart Vaughan is catching, and there's a vehicle having a big moment in front of them. That will scare them. That's Daniel Misdale going all shades of sideways, and it allows Stuart Vaughan maybe to close up a bit more, 0.6 of a second. 2 laps to go at Watkins Glen, and now the fireworks, the party starts getting a little louder.
Certainly, I am so hyped for this. Thomas McMillan versus Stuart Vaughan for the lead. It is going to happen. I'm fairly certain of it. Tell you what, this run that Stuart Vaughan gets may well define it. It doesn't seem to be quite close enough down the straight, but he is definitely in draft range now. He can try and slipstream up to the back of McMillan. If he can make a sort of last gasp maneuver on this last lap, I tell you what, that'd be a move for the ages. But McMillan is continuing to hold station. He just needs to keep his eyes forward. He just needs to stay calm, and he'll get this.
Don't forget the battle for the podium, McKnight versus Morris versus Smith. Keep an eye on that one then towards the end of the event, as we will pay most of our attention to the battle between Vaughan and McMillan. The run from Matt Muggleton has made things very difficult for a move to be done up at the chicane, but the white flag will wave for Thomas McMillan. One final lap of 3.91 kilometers at Watkins Glen. On the brakes then, turn number 1, the 90. This is the prime overtaking opportunity. Does he have enough of a run to set it up to Stuart Vaughan? At the moment, I can't be too sure. Behind that, Benjamin Smith is through on Matt Morris for position number 4. He's just got to get one more to beat the gauntlet. But to the leaders, Stuart Vaughan looking to try and attack this, but he's just not close enough. If he can't do it here, he's got to do it at turn 7. That's his only other opportunity to go and make this move into the lefts and rights. And I'm not sure he's close enough to set it up. He was within 4.5 tenths when they last crossed the line, and he needs the perfect run through the carousel. Pick the run up off the exit of the corner, and McMillan, he may just have enough of a buffer. He built it all in the stops. We don't know how safe the fuel is. He went for a shorter stop. It worked all in his favour. Through turn number 7, they come along. Now you look at Michael Conti and things that happen. Vehicle off in front of them, almost getting involved. Darren Lord saying, oh lordy, let's make it exciting. But to the line, Thomas McMillan is holding on. Thomas McMillan is winning and getting a spot in the V8SCOPS big race, the big leagues. It will be Jamie McKnight that holds the podium off. But my goodness, that was going to be close, and always going to be close.
Oh, certainly. What a finish for sure. And in the midst of all of that, Benjamin Smith actually got by Matt Morris. So I'm going to rewind and have a bit of a look at how that happened. It looked like it happened the lap previous. Matt Morris ran wide at turn 6. So that's the end of that. He tried to get the move back at the very final corner, but it wasn't to be.
Paul Jones has run out of fuel and is coasting to the line. He was in position number 13, and he is now dropping a mile down the order as it's side by side, almost 3 wide to the line. Stacey Walker and Cody Traynor. It ends up in Walker's favour, 0.03 of a second. In the end, Paul Jones will finish only in position number 20, but that is what I call a classic. Let's get ourselves then confirmation, official results then from Watkins Glen in Super Split 2. Thomas McMillan wins the event by 0.2 of a second over Stuart Vaughan, who harried and harassed at every given point in this event. Jamie McKnight comes home where he started, 3rd position, holding off Benjamin Smith and Matt Morris. Joshua Burden comes home 6th. He held off Michael Hammond, who made a great run today, 20th up to 7th. With Bob King, Stephen Lattimore 8th and 9th. Guy Leach rounds out the top 10.
Ian Bird for Redback Racing Team comes home in 11th place, with Shannon Mason and Jono Freeman finishing behind him. Great runs from both of those guys, as well as Nathan Tregarthen from 32nd up to 14th. Henry King finishes in 15th. Could have been quite a few positions higher, but his involvement in that battle pack unfortunately brought him to the back of that. Brenton O'Brien, what might have been his incident there with Connor McCluskey-Young, he's going to have to settle for 16th. Jacob Knight in 17th, with Stacey Walker 18th, 19th Cody Trainer. Paul Jones running out of fuel on the last lap to finish in 20th.
Wayne Hewitt finishes in the blackjack position. There's two little ducks for Simon Mazzomo in 22nd. Jamie Owens comes home 23rd, with Graham Filan 24th. Shane Rayner, the last of the vehicles on the leading lap, in 25th. Conor McCluskey-Young had a penalty. Paul Preston and Adrian Zelle finish a lap down, as does Daniel Misdale, as does Darren Lord.
Joel Kenton 2 laps down. Stuart Crawford as well 2 laps down, with Damon Stockton in 33rd. Matt Muggleton in 34th, and our confirmed retirements, Sean Thompson and Damon Mulqueen. Adam Wyborn did not take the grid, neither did Simon Black. So that is your field for tonight's Super Split 2 race. And if that's anything to go by, Split 1 is going to be fantastic.
Oh, you bet it is. This has set the precedence then for what we are expecting moving forward when we go, of course, to the Virtual Racing School Facebook page as well. So stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back once again to the Virtual Racing School V8 Supercars Online Premiere Series. And if Super Split 2 was anything to go by, then we are in for a treat at the New York 250. Everything came up Millhouse, and we don't have a winner. We have a Muck winner. Thomas McMillan wins this one here today. Thomas, first and foremost, it was a race which you managed to get the jump off at the start. How crucial was that in terms of controlling this race from the front?
Oh, it's very important. I needed to get the jump to stay in front because I know I would have struggled to get past Matt. He's quite hard to get past, but yeah, once I knew I cleared him and he made a mistake, I knew I had the race from there. Just had to keep it consistent, not rack up too many off tracks and keep it clean. Well, almost got me at the end.
It almost got you at the end, but how difficult is it actually to be racing on circuit, knowing that you've built a gap, and then you suddenly see that gap just being chunked down lap after lap after lap at the rate that Stuart Vaughan was doing so?
It's incredibly difficult. You have to keep your cool and keep calm and just keep punching out consistent laps and forget that he's behind you and just keep it clean and smooth. Make sure you don't make a mistake and get to the line.
And some may say, and some of your critics may say, that there shouldn't have been an opportunity for you to be racing in Split 2. Do you feel that you underperformed in pre-qualifying?
For sure. I reckon I'm almost stronger on race fuel and qual trim. I was really struggling in pre-qualifying. I couldn't get a lap down, and yeah, and I've somehow won this race, so hype.
So Split 1 comes to you. You get to go into the main event here on V8's Online. For you yourself, you're looking at an opportunity to gain quite a few positions through qualifying very soon?
Yep, just got to bang out a good lap and just send it in the race. Play for keeps.
Well, playing for keeps. I'm going to give you an opportunity then after winning this race to go shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Thanks to Rackcorp, Cash Centric, Sim Racing Collectibles, and Curse Design Labs for our very sexy cars, all the team, and Dane for spotting me.
No worries at all. So there's Thomas McMillan, a race winner. But Reese, you found yourself a position number 3 driver, Jamie McKnight.
I indeed do, Jamie. Welcome to the comms box, and a third place finish for you. But it wasn't without a little bit of contact between you and Matt Morris.
No, good evening, guys. How are you? Yeah, look, I worked really hard in that race. At the end, I pitted first, obviously, and I knew I'd have the worst tyres coming into the race. And those last 3 laps, I was just making sure that I put the car exactly where they didn't want me to be. I was just having a quick chat with Ben then and apologised for a bit of blocking, but I had to do it, mate. But I knew Matt, he's got a reputation for being aggressive, and I just knew that if I held my line, it was up to him to try and do something wild around me. And I think he did, and he went a bit wide. And I'm just glad that none of us were, or me and Ben particularly, didn't get taken out from it. But it was a great race from Matt. He raced well. I really enjoyed it.
Excellent stuff. Well, looking forward, I suppose, to future rounds. You've made a few appearances in Split 1 to date. Still in Split 2 for Watkins Glen, but in future rounds, you know, you've shown that you can race well at the front. How does this third place finish bode for future rounds of this season?
Well, it's a good question because I didn't even make the top 80 at Watkins Glen last year, and I think it was a bit later in the year last year. So one of my not so skillful tracks for me, I struggle a bit at Watkins Glen, but this has been by far the best I've done there, and I'm really happy with it, and I think it bodes really well for future races because if I can do this at one of my not so favoured tracks, I'm feeling pretty confident for the ones I like. Before we let you go, who would you like to thank? Well, of course, I'd like to thank West End Mazda, which I'm a part of course, for sponsoring not only you guys with OSR and SCOPS, but obviously my team, and also a big thanks to Wayne Pengelly from WP Concreting, who's also a co-sponsor of not only my team but West End Mazda Racing and also WP Concreting. So we're a big family, and thanks to all the guys. And I want to thank particularly the competitors tonight. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Ben, for a fantastic race, and well done to Thomas and Stuart. And thanks to V8's Online for always doing these great broadcasts, guys. Thank you very much, Jamie. I guess we will see you when we see you at the next round, hopefully. Probably on Tuesday night at Maddie's thing.
Yes, indeed. Of course. Don't forget about that. We've got a charity race coming up for Matt Torkins, who is a member of the West End Mazda family. So be sure to catch up with that on Tuesday night. Well, that was Jamie McKnight, your third place finisher. Now, Jake, we have Benjamin Smith in the commentary box, our fourth place finisher.
Yes, we do. Benjamin Smith, a big challenge for you today as you look to battle it out in the latter stages of the event. Just how difficult is it to make positions late at Watkins Glen?
Yeah, mate, it's pretty hard, especially when those tyres starting to go off. You got a bit of battling going on in front of you, just sitting there waiting, hoping that they make a mistake.
Well, you sit, you wait, you hope that mistakes happen. But let's talk about the early stages of the event. A lot of pack racing mentality, a lot of trying to work out where you are. Is it different to any other race on the calendar?
Nah, mate, it's virtually the same every start. But I took a bit of experience that I had from last weekend in the Hyundai XL series here in Queensland, and used a little bit of push off the start to gain a few positions.
Well, you certainly have the push off the start, and I think you have a child in the background very unhappy at your fourth place finish. I think they wanted a podium. But right now, you look at where you are in terms of the work that you've put in. It's been a strong result for you here today in Split 2. Do you feel that you can take this momentum of a strong finish and look to translate that into the next round of the championship?
Yeah, mate, pretty much. Yeah, just trying to gain that little bit extra every time, working with the team, trying to work on setups and try and get myself up to the top split.
No worries at all. Benjamin Smith then from All Star Motorsports having a very good run of things. Position number 4 for him. But Reese, the important thing is we're heading to Split 1 action. We are heading to the major leagues and we're heading for a 250 race that is going to be so important, because we're talking about a championship now which last round was blown wide open thanks to Madison Down. He brings himself back into the picture. Yes, it was still second place for Jared Filsell, but now we know that Jared Filsell is beatable.
Yes, we do. And that was the question we were asking ourselves for the first 3 rounds of the season. Could Jared Filsell be beaten? He seemed to be on the mother of all victory runs to start off this season. I don't think I've seen a more perfect start to a season of racing than Jared Filsell did at the start of 2018 VRS V8 SCOPS. But you are right. He has been proved to be beatable. So the question on my mind is, what can Madison Down do? As well as Ethan Grigg-Golt. Remember, Madison Down topped pre-qualifying. Jared Filsell could only manage second place in the pre-qualifying sessions. Ethan Grigg-Golt, Ian Ford, and Jake Burton as well. All of those drivers in the 110-2s for pre-qualifying. So, listen, we've seen that the draft can be a massive factor here, but with a bunch of these drivers all racing in a pack, oh goodness me, I'm loath to think of what might happen.
Well, I know what will happen. I know what will happen because I have a feeling it's going to be a very entertaining 250. Make sure that you stay with us here on the Virtual Racing School V8 Supercar Online Premier Series event, because we'll be back with qualifying and all of the trimmings in just a few moments' time.
Upstate New York often gets glossed over in favor of the Big Apple down south, but to motorsport fans, the region has importance, for it is home to one of the finest and most historic circuits the USA has to offer, Watkins Glen International. Watkins Glen, in spite of modernization and safety improvements over the years, remains a circuit of its time, a window into racetracks of decades past. It has one of the highest average speeds of any circuit the V8 Supercar Online Premier Series visits, and combines elevation change and sweeping turns to create a circuit that is on the very edge of grip and sanity, and provides oval-style pack racing in a road course environment. The S's at the start of the lap are so close to flat out that it's tempting to push the limits, but walls will meet you if you do. Watkins Glen's story begins in the late 1940s. Races were organised on a loop of public roads around the village of Watkins Glen starting in 1948. The event was the brainchild of lawyer and Sports Car Club of America member Cameron Argetsinger, who was quoted as saying to the New York Times, "It's been said, and it's not entirely wrong, that I did it because I had an MGTC and didn't have a place to race it." The event was well received, spectators lining the sidewalks as the cars passed through town, but the 1952 event was marred by an accident in which a 7-year-old boy, Frank Fazzari, was killed, and several others injured. This and other incidents reminded everyone of the dangers of open road racing, and though the Watkins Glen races continued at a different course to the southwest, plans were made to construct a permanent road course facility, to be the second ever in the United States after Road America. The track was completed in 1956 and by 1961 had been chosen as the home of the Formula One United States Grand Prix, which it would be for 19 years, longer than any other circuit to date. In 1971, the track was altered, constructing the location for a new start line and pit lane that was finished in 1972, along with the boot layout extension. A chicane at the S's was added in 1975 in response to the deaths of Francois Sever and Helmut Koenig in years previous, but as cars continued to get faster, the track became more unsafe to race on, and when Formula One left after the 1980 race, the track closed in 1981, bankrupt. Fortunately, the track was reopened in 1984 after being purchased by Corning Enterprises and International Speedway Corporation, and hosted high-profile racing once again with the S's chicane removed. In an official sense. If you look closely, the patch of tarmac where the chicane lay is still there. NASCAR began racing at the circuit in the latter half of the 1980s, and Watkins Glen's profile grew once again. One final alteration to the layout was made in 1992, installing the inner loop chicane in response to more high-speed accidents at the end of the long straight. And so, here we are today, with Watkins Glen playing host to scores of grassroots motorsport events, plus NASCAR races, and a slot in the IMSA Sports Car Championship. This track has always thrown up an exciting race in the iRacing V8 supercars, typically on the Cup layout. A part of this collection of series since the very beginning, it's one of the tracks we always look forward to every season. Sit tight, find something to hold on to, and enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the VRS V8 Supercars Online Premier Series race is officially going to be declared as amazing. Track conditions, let's get them up and involved for you. 20 degrees track, 20 degrees air. It's cold. It has blown over overcast, and suddenly the track times are coming down. Over 20 drivers have gone faster than the fastest time in pre-qualification. I'm hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, the observer of sim racing. There's Reese Gardner on my right-hand side. And I tell you what, I haven't seen Reese Gardner fidget in his seat in a long time.
Yeah, well, you haven't seen me at all because we're on opposite sides of the globe. But hey, I am fidgeting in my seat because, goodness me, we are up for one hell of a race here, Jake. And you know what? Add to that, we've got a northerly wind. That, I believe, translates to, well, northerly means it's coming from the north, right?
Yes.
Yes. So that means it's a tailwind down the back straight, a headwind down the other two long straights on this track. So, oh boy, the draft is going to be amazing.
It is going to be Draft Fest City, baby! Yeah. But what's more important, though, is dissecting this one, because a lot of drivers are finding themselves with a lot of opportunity to go out there and attack. But the thing that I want to address the first and foremost is the fact that we are really starting to see a decline in the importance of TTL's output in this season.
Yeah, TTL, I think, and you know, we're hearing it. I've heard it from a couple of drivers in the team. The attitude in the team has really changed since Rogers decided to quit V8 Scops to focus on his Formula One exploits in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series. So yeah, the highest scoring TTL driver right now in the practice session is Richard Hamstead. He is down in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8th position. So Richard currently TTL's lead driver in this race. The rest of their drivers seem to be almost nowhere to be seen. Ciolak is the only other driver.
And he's down on a 109.9 so far in practice, so he's maybe struggling a little bit more than meets the eye. Jared Filsell, though, proven mortal last time out at the Phillip Island 250, was beaten comprehensively by Madison Down and was incredibly lucky not to actually lose any further ground, because he was so lucky that Jake Burson ran out of fuel.
Yeah, certainly. If it weren't for that, then it would have been third for Jared Filsell, and his championship lead reduced even more. So we don't know exactly what it means for the mind games within TTR, but of course, Filsell, he's a man of few words, and when he gets out there and drives, he just does it. There's no fuss from Filsell. He just goes out there and goes fast. He's currently ahead of Madison Down in the practice session, but at a track like this, does one lap pace really mean anything?
One lap pace means something, because track position can be so vital. Ethan Griggold is currently the fastest man in practice at the moment, and Ethan Griggold, who arguably is in the form of his career so far, he's had some very good results. It was poor qualifying that put him under pressure at Phillip Island, but here at Watkins Glen, he's got to translate some success here, and I think he is looking ready for this one, and I think he wants to fight.
Oh yeah, certainly. Ethan, you know, the form that he's showing in that practice session is absolutely fantastic. Currently lapping out there, going through the carousel, and yeah, his run of recent results, Snetterton comes to mind most for me. Actually kept Filsell very honest through the race at Snetterton. So really looking forward to seeing how Ethan Griggold can do, especially considering that he might stand a chance of making use of his typical fuel-saving strategy very nicely here at Watkins Glen. Also looking at Luke Harvey as well. A relatively recent signing to Trans-Tasman Racing. He's just slowed down through the S's, letting a few drivers by. But Luke, currently up in 4th position in the timesheets right now, and doing very well for himself.
Doing very well for himself at the moment. Now, let's talk about those conditions. These are overcast conditions, and they are more likely to cause oversteer in an already oversteery vehicle, Reece. So this track basically becomes a landmine, shall we say. Any one wrong move over 64 laps, and you are in the fence. These fences that almost encroach over you like a street circuit.
Oh yeah, certainly. Those walls, particularly through the S's, they're these looming towers of terror. The walls didn't, they weren't there when the circuit was originally built. Actually, while I was doing the research for the fact file, I noticed there were some pictures that showed the S's in the original layout of the track. It was completely open, no walls there at all. So they're actually a more recent addition to the circuit. It's quite interesting. They're one of the most dangerous parts of the circuit, and they're newer.
Oh, and I tell you what, if you do get an instance, especially on the opening lap, it's the fact that it bottlenecks into the exit section that, you know, sometimes is the cause for a lot of cautions and damage.
Oh yeah, certainly. Those S's, especially in a V8 supercar, if you hit the curb even slightly wrong, the car gets really unstable. So you have to be super careful on the opening lap. You got to be able to just yield if you want any chance of surviving. You have plenty of laps to try and get your position back in the draft. But I'll tell you what, the big one is a thing in oval racing. The big one is certainly a possibility here in V8 Scops. At many races at Watkins Glen that I've both commentated in on and competed in, there has been something resembling a Daytona or Talladega smash.
the big one, trademark. That's what maybe a lot of drivers are scared of, don't want to be a part of. It is why the middle of the field is going to be the most important, because any driver that finds themselves in the middle of the pack faces arguably the biggest opportunity of being involved in a big one. We are just under a minute from qualifying. How crucial is qualifying going to be today, Reese?
I think it depends on what you're looking at. Like a qualifying position, certainly you talked about track position before, Jake. It's very important at a track like this, especially in the opening laps. But at the end of the day, if you manage to get your draft game on and it's nice and strong, then you'll be able to make really good progress through the field. We saw a few drivers doing that in the Super Split 2 race.
We certainly did. The draft game will be important, but now it's time to focus into the qualifying game. And how important will getting a partner drafting around a lap like this be for all these drivers that look to make this charge? Practice is over. It is now time to get into gear. The no escape rule will be in full effect as qualifying is underway now at Watkins Glen. First to get out of the gate will be, guess who? Emily Jones at the front of the field will be the #1 driver. She will be the one setting the pace. Ethan Grigalt just there. Now, this is where things get interesting. Do you let through a couple of drivers to go, well, okay, I'm going to let you have the lead, take away the draft, and especially in Phil Cell's situation, do you just get on the comms to Emily Jones and say, Emily, let Ethan through?
Yeah, well, it looks like she's on her way to getting that done at the moment. Ethan with a really big run down the straight. I don't know if Emily's going to let him through. From Phil Cell's perspective, I suppose it would be beneficial if you just leave Ethan out there on his own in the lead. Then that's less of a threat to the TTR camp that he poses. But looks like he's giving Emily Jones an awful lot of space as they come up to the end of the outlap.
Well, I tell you what, Reese, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take a lap on board with Emily Jones. The first lap here in qualifying, she rounds turn number 8.
Yes, indeed. A lap around Watkins Glen International's Cup layout with Miss Emily Jones. Here we go. Across the start-finish line you go. Just cresting over a hill, you want to look out to just before the 300-foot marker for turn 1. This is a third gear turn, nice and banked. Make sure that you use as much of the runoff area as you can before that grass begins on the left-hand side, and then just lifting slightly as you get into 5th gear through the S's, being extra careful not to hit the walls and be careful of those high curbs. And now it's down the front stretch. Emily gets a chance to rest here. So you're waiting for the markers on the left-hand side, braking just before the 400 and through the bus stop. These very harsh curbs that if you hit them even slightly wrong, that's lap over, and then diving straight into the carousel in 4th gear, nice and banked. It gets even more banked towards the end. You can almost double apex it. A little bit of strip of tarmac on the left-hand side. Make sure that you use that. Then you got another run up to one of the most difficult corners on the circuit, the penultimate turn here, braking just before the 300. Very hard to sight your line through here because it's blind, and using all of that curb on the exit, switching right over to the left-hand side for a nice entry through the final turn. You can get on the throttle a little bit earlier than you think. And it's very short, but it's very fun. A lap around Watkins Glen.
109.886, the fastest time at the moment. 109.4. Ethan Grigalt puts a hammer down and says, come beat my time. Phil Cell across the line then. He does a 109.3. He puts a hammer down even further. Thor wouldn't be able to pick up that hammer. That's how strong a 109.3 that was, Reese.
Yeah, certainly. Fantastic opening lap by Phil Cell. He's definitely set his qualifying campaign off to a good start. And so this first run of laps is complete. We've got more drivers filing in at the moment, setting their times. And now, if these guys are tandem drafting, it's now time to switch around and see if they can help their teammates up the field.
Well, it's all about that help. It's all about how can you improve your lap times. And at a circuit that's as small and as enclosed as this, only a 70-second lap time, how important is track position going to be over the course of this 20 minutes?
Yeah, well, Dane Warren didn't get a time in on the first lap, and you know what? On a lap as short as Watkins Glen, that is really going to hurt him because you know, Watkins Glen, it's nearly 4 kilometers long, but it's so fast that it's over in a flash. And track position is incredibly important in the qualifying session. You want to make sure that the driver you're drafting is around your pace, if not just a tiny little bit faster, so that you still have a chance of keeping that draft. Meanwhile, Phil Sell going quicker, a 109.296. Fantastic stuff. And was that Jake Burton popping up to third?
It was, and that's Ian Ford now in 4th position, tied on times with Madison Downs, split by the numbers we can't see as things stand. So less than a 10,000th of a second gets things going. So this is all about, I think this is going to be one of the first times actually as a vehicle off. That's Ross Rizzo, and that's Ross Rizzo pretty much beached.
Yeah, goodness me. How on earth did that happen? It looks like he just, he hit the brakes really hard, and now he's stopped there on the entry to the bus stop. That is a very dangerous place.
Well, I think
and
he's going to have to take his
session over.
Yes, Ross Rizzo, who's currently 25th, will go no quicker. I was going to say, this is one of the only circuits, because of the conditions here, Reese, where you could probably get more than 1 lap in. I think that not getting that lap in at the moment for the driver of Dane Warren, I think he's been able to get away with that here today. This is the only circuit he can get away with so far this season.
Yeah, certainly. You know, we've seen pretty hot conditions in qualifying for the most part throughout this season, but this is so far, I think, the coldest track we've seen in qualifying. Of course, only 20 degrees, so that's pretty much icy temperature in iRacing terms. So, yeah, Dane Warren, he's probably dodged a bullet here.
Yeah, the bullet certainly dodged, and so dangerous that bullet is. And going down the order, you're looking right now, the top 10, half a second split, but you go all the way down. A 110 puts you in 23rd, a 109.7 puts you in 9th position, 3/10 splitting about 20 drivers out on circuit. That's how close things get. Dane Warren then rounds the final corner. I believe this is an out lap that he's looking to try and attack and look to go through. This needs to be a money lap from Dane Warren. He needs everything to work out. But look at the traffic that's going to come up on exit. Big slide.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, he did need to make that work, and he didn't even make it to the apex of the first turn before it was messed up for him. Very unfortunate for Dane. So he's got a long session ahead of him. He didn't have anyone in front of him to draft either. So this is not a good situation for him. He should be around the top 10, shouldn't he?
Well, he should be around the top 10, but he's just got to put the banker in at the moment. Even if it's a really horrible lap time, he hasn't gone off the circuit, so he just needs to put that one time in that makes things work. But check out Ian Ford in 4th position. I just can't get enough of this. Ian Ford, who has raced only 1 race prior this season, that was at the track of Phillip Island, and he wasn't really anywhere there. This is the Ian Ford that we saw in the Endurance last year really come to the forefront. Ian Ford is back.
He certainly is doing very well in that Evolution Racing Team number 15 Holden Commodore, and actually setting almost the same time as Madison Down too. Have a look at that, a 109.503 for both drivers. So that should tell you something about how close the times are here at the moment.
They are very, very close, and everyone looking for opportunities to go out there and get more laps in. So Jared Filsell going out, he wants another lap. Then Warren wants another lap. We're about over a third of the way in through qualifying right now, and everything's so important. But here's the question that I want to ask you, Reese, at the moment. When you take a circuit like Watkins Glen, translate it, and some may say that the cup layout isn't the layout that should be used, would you say that this cup layout would be very similar in terms of what it brings to the table to say something like Barbagallo does?
That is an interesting question, because I've never really considered it that way. We don't really have any circuits in Australia like Watkins Glen, just this constant fast nature. As Dane Warren rounds the final turn, we'll see what kind of time he can put down here. Just take a bit of a break from our discussion here to see what time he sets. A 109.7, so not a bad lap to start things out. That puts him in 11th. But I don't know, Barbagallo, I'd say maybe, because I mean, Barbagallo, it's short, but it's also very slow, and draft doesn't really come into play. Goodness me, Warren. That is one hell of a slide.
We've got Bruce Kiley turned around at the exit of turn 3, so that is a very scary place as there's a vehicle hitting the wall, and that was Brenton Hobson Hobbo in 18th, not having a good qualifying day.
David Moore too.
Oh my goodness, we are seeing just how difficult this track can be. We thought many people think it's easy in hotter conditions. In cold conditions, this is a whole new beast.
Certainly is. You know, you got to be very careful, especially under brakes. In terms of hot conditions, you have the car understeering quite a bit on entry, and the only place you'd see oversteer would probably be on exit. But here, in these colder conditions, the front end just grips up a hell of a lot, so you really need to be super, super careful under brakes. If those rear tires lose any grip at all, you're basically out in the weeds, and David Moore is making his way back to the pits at the moment, making sure to be very careful not to get in anyone's way. That's a lot of smoke and a lot of virtual oil that he would be dumping onto the circuit.
A lot of vehicles then stopped with Bruce Kiley. One is Todd Parks, the other one was Sam Blacklock at the time. Oh my goodness, there's a big incident that happens between them. That's Michael Taliangic and Ethan Warren gets collected.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've been a ton of him. Zach Hanlon, a big one that has happened in qualifying. A massive shunt. Ethan Warren's engine is gone and he is out of it, but Michael Taliangic and Zachary Hanlon, that's stuff that gives you nightmares.
That certainly is. We got a Cut Price Racing Kart Parts replay up on screen right now. How on earth did that even start? Just looks to me like Taliancic lost it on the grass and just went straight into the side of Hanlon. And from that point on, Taliancic, there wasn't much he could have done going across the grass. And Ethan Warren, he couldn't do anything.
No, he couldn't. He was stranded. He had nowhere to go on that one-line suits all apex that is the bus stop. So easy to get things wrong. But now we're into the second half of qualifying. This first half has been explosive for all the wrong reasons so far. It now needs to be explosive for all the right reasons. But the longer qualifying goes, the tougher it is to get a fast lap time in. Your top... Oh, get this. Your top 35 are split within a second as things stand, going down all the way to Brian Borg. This is important. This is going to be a very important attacking race. And we talk about drivers who are out of position. Glenn Postlethwaite, P17. You're talking the likes of Mitchell Giolak down in 21st. You're talking about Corey Preston, 26th. Wayne Burke, 27th. We're talking about drivers who really we'd expect to be up inside that top 15, top 20, looking to try and have that push, that charge. It goes to show Watkins Glen is more difficult than people think it is. It really is a hit and miss, a hot and cold track.
It certainly is, you know. Watkins Glen is one of those tracks that you look at on a map and think, yeah, sure, that's fine, I can do that. Anyone could, you know, a monkey could drive a track around here. But no, once you actually hit the virtual tarmac and actually do laps around this place, you realize, well, it takes a lot more to be quick around here than just knowing all the corners and which direction they go in. Every turn is on the edge somehow. You need to make sure that you have your car handling down pat around here, especially in a draft. That's the magic of Watkins. It really brings something out that you don't usually see at other road circuits. As I'm just noticing Michael Taliancic is now out of the session as he escaped after his incident.
Yep, he is. We also still got Todd Parks and Zach Hanlon just waiting to get a bit of clean air on the track. But let's focus on the 77 of Madison Down. Not only is he going to try and go for 2 in a row here at Watkins Glen, he is trying to go for 2 in a row this season. At Madison Down position 5, he's in the hunt. He just needs mere thousandths.
Yeah, certainly. That's only a couple of thousandths of a second needed to jump up to 4th place as he's coming into turn 1, maybe a little bit wider than he would hope. You do want to try and hit that curb a little bit. Also got to be careful of dirt getting onto the tires as he hits the grass there. Doesn't look like he has much of a drafting partner at this present time. Oh, goodness me. And that wall out of turn 3, we call that Madison's wall here at V8s Online for reasons that should be quite obvious. He has hit that wall many, many times. And it becomes a sort of a game as to whether or not he's going to have himself a bit of an incident there.
Well, the question will be, does that wall read Momo at the end of the event? That's what we'll be looking at for the blue paint. But for now, Madison down his last lap of 109.595. That was only just a shade under a tenth slower, so there's really no drop-off. I think if you really push a lap time here, you can make something work in your favour, because this track rubbering in has not done as much as people maybe would have expected it to.
No, certainly not. And Madison Down knows that. He's decided to jump back into the pits and possibly have one final run at pole position here. You know what? I don't know if he'll be able to do it. He needs to have a drafting partner to just nail that lap.
Well, a drafting partner he can certainly organise with a few teammates. Right now, it is Trans Tasman Racing 1, 3, 5, 7 and 10 in this top 10. Jared Filsell currently the fastest in qualifying. Ethan Grigalt in second position. Jake Burton and Ian Ford will look like it's road 2 at the moment. Then it's Madison Down and Forzan El Nabi, Lee Ellis and Jordan Ross, Richard Hamstead and Emily Jones. This is a top 10 that seems very, very scary on paper. And honestly, I think any one of the top 15 stands a legitimate chance of winning this one today.
Yeah, certainly. You know, we've seen pretty chaotic races at Watkins Glen. I think, like, if there's a pile up in the opening laps, I think someone even outside the top 20 could stand a chance of getting a really good position in this event. And I tell you what, a few drivers looking to make their mark will be our top split debutantes tonight. That's Scott Nolan, Warren Pickering, and Zach Hanlon. They are all looking to take a bit of a bite of the cherry, so to speak.
Well, Zach Hanlon's already been involved in a massive bite of the cherry, and Bruce Kiley, I believe, just crashed on the exit of pit road. So, my goodness, that's a scary one for Bruce Kiley, and he's got to go do a lap unless he's got to use his no escape.
Yeah, well, that's not good. He's right on the exit of pits as well. That's a real shame for Bruce. I'm wondering whether or not he will... Yeah, there we go. Ah, what a shame.
That is a big, big shame. So Bruce Kiley will not go any further. Bruce Kiley, that was down the order, struggling 39th position. So, Brucey boy, that's a shame. You're not going to go any further. But this is your 4-minute warning here on V8 Online as Corey Preston gets a big spin and he tanks it into the Armco on the outside of turn number 1, the 90. Gets himself back going righted again. But this is now going to be a 3-minute warning that we're going to get now. So 3 minutes, that's potentially 3 laps depending on when you cross the line. It's important now to get the lap that you want. Most crucially, Ethan Grigalt does not have a drafting partner.
No, he doesn't, and that is going to be very crucial. If he wants any kind of a chance at pole position, he needs to have that little bit of an extra run down the straights. Have a look ahead of him. That's Ian Ford there, drawing up, so Ethan is going to have a drafting partner for this lap. Oh, I can't wait to see how this one turns out.
Not only that, it's a quick drafting partner. It's Ian Ford who gets a big wiggle out to the final corner. Just enough room then for the draft. We're going to stay with Ethan Grigalt for this lap. Lap 13 of his qualifying so far through the 90. Looking to be absolutely perfect, and he is tight through that corner. He is gathered up like a ball of wool as he looks to now make his way up through the S's, looking to just push at every single point, passing Madison's wall and make sure that he looks for that charge. Vehicle slow though is Michael Cracknell. He gets out of the way. Also an ERT driver looking to push forward. They have El Nabi in front. They have Scott Nolan who just dives out of the way of everything. Through the S's, it's absolutely fine. The bus stop into the carousel, and Ethan Grigalt knows there's now 2 minutes, maybe even 1.5 minutes here, Reese, and this needs to be perfect from Grigalt. And look how hard he pushes on the exit.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's gotten an off track because of that. He might have to go for another run here. We'll see if the time pops up on the timesheets, but that will not have helped Ethan Grigolt's campaign for pole position here at Watkins Glen. And there we go. They're going right into the pits. Will they get one in? They won't get another one in.
No, that's it. So Ethan Grigolt cannot go any further. Jared Filsell rounds the final corner. 1 minute warning. He decides my time is enough. He releases Lee Ellis to go on to one final lap. 1 minute remains. Everybody trying to get one more lap in. Brenton Hobson needs to get one more lap in. Jake Blackwell, Carl James, Mitchell Cholak all need to get one lap in. Richard Hampstead, for example, keep an eye on this. He has a lap after this to work in his favour, but Hampstead has got to put in a good lap for TTL Esports because they know that they are relying so heavily on Hampstead. No Maloney here today, and Hampstead won't go any quicker. Blacklock will have one more time with under 30 seconds to go. He will now go on to his flying lap. We keep looking for those going on to flying laps. Brett Loxton, for example. Jordan Ross and Brenton Hobson need some times. Hobson going on to his final lap. 10 seconds remain. Jordan Ross also on that lap, as we have said. 5 seconds remain. Madison Down will get in for one more flying lap. Jake Burton will not, though. Burton will come to the line. What time can he do? 109.2 to beat, and he does not set a lap time. So
that was an out lap.
It was, so he didn't make it in time. Big mistake there. Zach Hanlon making the charge to the line, then in the 223. Currently in 30th position on a 110.063. He needs something. He wants to break into the 109s. Can he break into the 109s? No.
No time.
No time at all. Todd Parks then will come to the line as Wayne Burke will not go any quicker. Can Todd Parks find anything? Currently in 38th position. Answer is a 110.3. He improves time, but not position at all. Blackhall won't go quicker. Brett Loxton, I don't think, could go much quicker here. Currently 27th. I think he's got a chance here of gaining a couple more positions if he's not careful. 109.957, he does. He gains another position then on his run. McMillan comes in. Blythe comes in. El Nabi sideways coming out of the final corner. That's how much it meant to him in the Performance Sim Sport machine. He will not set a lap time. Madison Down won't set a lap time either. And Jake Burton then comes through. Everybody through. Grid as follows. Jared Filsell takes pole again, 109.296. The hammer that even Thor can't lift. Ethan Grigolt will start from second on a 109.4 with Jake Burton third and Ian Ford in fourth, making it Trans-Tasman ERT for the first two rows. Madison Down will start from fifth position, the winner last time out and a winner last year, with Richard Hampstead in sixth, with Forzan El Nabi seventh sideways, with Lee Ellis eighth, Jordan Ross ninth, and Kurt Stenberg moves into the top 10.
Emily Jones, his teammate, will start in 11th place. Dane Warren could only manage 12th, unfortunately. Did not get off to the best start in that session. Brett Cananzi, how about him in 13th place in the 666 car? Very nice. Glenn Postlethwaite finds himself in 14th, with Luke Harvey in 15th. Scott Sislowski and Michael Cracknell on the next row, with Brady Myers and Sam Blacklock in 19th. The top 20 rounded out by Hobo88, Brenton Hobson.
Yep, as we look to the third row very, very quickly, we've got the likes of Riley Blythe, Mitchell Cholak, Wayne Burke, David Moore. It's not been the day needed then for what is Synergy Sim Racing. Jake Blackhall, Brett Loxton, Ethan Warren, Corey Preston, Brian Borg, Zachary Hanlon in 30th position. But we'll forego the last page because we are getting ready for action then at Watkins Glen, a circuit which is steeped in racing history. It's all about how you make those runs. 64 laps. We expect 2 stops then here today on the runs that we have got. And it's all now about how you make that run. Inside line for Jared Filsell, but Ethan Grigolt, the master of the fuel save. And with heavy draft today, the master of the fuel save may come back to help him. Madison Down will want to make positions. He won both races last time here at Watkins Glen. He loves this circuit. He gets a great chance to get a run here. And don't count Ian Ford either. He can fuel save just as good as teammate Ethan Grigg-Gault does. We'd like to welcome everybody here on the Virtual Racing School Facebook page, and we'd like to welcome everybody who is tuning in on V8 Online, on iRacing Live, because this is going to be an absolute barnstormer if qualifying in Split 2 were anything to go by. The final few seconds we wait.
We certainly do. 2-minute mark up, lights are up.
Engine notes will rev. 64 laps. Underway. Let's get ourselves going. Ford gets a slow start off of the second row. It's an okay start from Phil Sell. He covers. He has to go defensive into the 90, turn number 1. Grigg-Gault tried to throw it down the inside. That was never going to work. That was a big, bold statement there from Ethan Grigg-Gault as they make the S's for the very first time. Side by side, too wide in the middle of the pack. Emily Jones still going at it with Dane Warren. Warren needs to make positions early and quick as it's side by side. Also Ian Ford and Madison down almost into his wall. And that was so close. Look at the time that's being foreboded now as the top 3 break away. As now look at this. It's going to be El Nabi heavily defending from Lee Ellis down to the inside of the chicane.
Bit twitchy there from Forzan El Nabi, but he manages to hold it. Jordan Ross had a bad run out of the S's. He's lost quite a few positions out of that, but they're going streaming now through the carousel. Top 3 already starting to break away, and everyone's starting to move into single file, at least up until you get to the outer reaches of the top 30. Have a look at David Moore and Brett Loxton here. Zach Hanlon wanting a piece of this as well. Really active racing down in the pack.
Middle of the pack driving, so crucial. So Loxton holds on as there's a bit of a shove on Hanlon. Welcome to V8SCOPS, buddy. So he wants to get something working out. Big wide line from Jason Hyde as he looked to try and find himself a bit of space. 1 of 64 then. Score complete. Down to the inside goes of Michael Cracknell. Goes Brenton Hobson. Hobbo makes a move. And Hobbo, 88, gets himself up into 18th position.
He certainly does. Just behind him, Sam Blacklock versus Wayne Burke through the S's. They are on the edge, the ragged edge of disaster every single lap through those S's. What an incredible sight there. Meanwhile, up the front, looks like Jared Filsell holding station very nicely from Ethan Grigg-Gault and Jake Burton doing a good job in third as well. Madison Down versus Ian Ford looks to be heating up a little.
It certainly does. So Ian Ford looking to try and get back past Madison Down. And Madison Down, who maybe gave away a bit of time, 0.8 of a second to teammate Jake Burton. Teammates in terms of the championship, not just Trans-Tasman Racing. You can see with the Momo liveries that they are running for this event and every event that goes on. So Madison's trying to close that gap down. The big issue, though, is that it is the fact that he is bringing Ian Ford along with him. That's going to mean there's more help for Evolution Racing Team at the front of this train. Evolution Racing Team and Trans-Tasman lock out the top 5 positions.
They certainly do. Evolution really doing a good job here today, getting their 2 of their cars into the top 5 and doing very well too. Oh, hang on a minute. Richard Hampstead got his nose into Madison's wall and his run has been ruined. Forzan El Nabi now attacking him.
Oh, and that's big worries because Forzan, we've seen how much he can get sideways already in qualifying. We know that he can be an aggressor during the race, but he has to be really consistent about the way that he attacks this one. Further down in this field, we've got Brady Myers looking to be aggressive. He wants to get past Glenn Postlethwaite, this one for P14, P15. Right now, Brady Myers is currently up 3 positions at the moment. He's one of your biggest movers inside of the top 15, second biggest only to 1, because side by side in front, Jordan Ross now and Emily Jones. Jones struggling, trying to get back to the inside. Here's an up and under attempt from the first lady of sim racing, but that's not going to work. Defensive line taken.
Yeah, certainly. Jordan Ross doing very well there to defend, but it looks like he lifted off slightly. Jones going around the outside, but can she hold it? A little bit of side-by-side contact between them. That is the run ruined for Emily Jones, and that's opened her to an attack from Glenn Postlethwaite, who is struggling to keep that car online on the inside. Have a look at Brady Myers, though. He's managed to take advantage of that beautifully. Round the outside now of Glenn Postlethwaite coming onto the straight, and oh my goodness, we're going to start to get a bit of a cluster going here. Scott Seslowski and Brett Cananzi in the middle of this as well. Have a look. All of them are struggling to keep their cars on the road there, but Brady Myers, the big mover out of that once again.
Welcome to the bottleneck and welcome to the opportunities that knock. If you're not attacking here, you are defending here, and you have to make sure that you are in line and working things out. Again, Kozlowski looking at Postlethwaite suddenly has to turn to defensive lines because there was Cananzi waiting for the opportunity. Now Cananzi under pressure from Hobson, who looks to pick the nose. Contact though, big one into the wall, and that, yes, that is, I believe, Postlethwaite getting absolutely shafted in that situation. And well, it was a bold attempt, and now he's got to go a whole lap with heavy, heavy damage.
Yeah, goodness me. Then you couldn't think of a worse place for that sort of thing to happen. Contact between Scott Kozlowski and Glenn Postlethwaite, and that was right before pit entry too. He had no chance of getting into the pits to repair any of that damage, and he was way off pace with the S's.
What? Blacklock heavy into the pits.
No, there we go.
Surely a caution. Surely up and over goes Sam Blacklock. Brian Borg took a piece of him. Caution flag flies then at Watkins Glen. That was scary for Sam Blacklock.
Yeah, certainly was. I'm just taking a look at that position. That incident again just looks like a bit of netcoding contact between Blacklock and Riley Blythe through turn 3, and Blacklock, the car just bucked away from him, and he rode the wall through that part of the S's. But once he got back onto the circuit, man, he was blocking the track. There was nothing anyone could do.
There's nothing he could do. He was up and over as well, which is an automatic caution if a vehicle breaks the plane of 90 degrees in terms of where it goes. If a vehicle goes over, it's a mandatory caution. So that is Sam Blacklock really having a big, scary one. And this will hurt Jared Filsell because he was breaking away almost from Ethan Grigalt at the front of the field. It's brought everything down 3 laps in. Fuel saving becomes even more paramount. And I think someone like Ethan Grigalt relishes it when a caution comes into play.
Certainly does. As we've seen many times over the course of the season, the field just passing by Sam Blacklock now, who remains at a standstill on the exit of the S's. Ethan and Ian will be really looking forward to making something out of this caution, and I guess this is an opportunity for everyone to calm down after the opening laps, get a bit of a soft reset in the minds of the racers, and we'll be ready to go again in a couple of laps.
Well, I have to say, thank God it's sim racing, because that was scary from Sam Blacklock.
It certainly was, and you know what? Brian Borg was the first to actually make contact with Blacklock after he came back off the wall. It looked to me like that would have been something that caused a major pile-up, but instead Blacklock was sent flying across the circuit, and that just made things a little bit worse for some drivers. It was, yeah, I mean, if that had happened in real life, we surely would have seen some pretty grim circumstances.
We certainly would have done, and thank goodness that the virtual safety crews have done their job and have got Sam Blacklock out of the vehicle. So, for now, the field looks as follows. Jared Filsell leads this event from Ethan Grigalt. Jake Burton is in 3rd. Madison Down is up to 4th with 5th place. Ian Ford. Richard Hamstead is 6th with Forzan El-Nabi 7th. Lee Ellis, Kurt Stenberg, and Dane Warren, your top 10 as things stands. Your biggest mover and shaker, though, inside the top 10 is Dane Warren. He is +2 from starting 12th. No takers then onto the lane just yet. We are not in the pit stop window. A feign, though, from Brenton Hobson. He went, go on, someone's got to take it. One does, and that's Jake Blackhall.
Yes, indeed. Of course, this brings us to the discussion of the pit window as we see a lot of drivers piling into the pits now. We've got Zach Hanlon, we've got Brian Borg, Brett Loxton, Ross Rizzo, Taliancic, Pickering, Parks, Postlethwaite, Hyde, Kiley, and Scott Nolan as well. All those drivers pitting. The pit window is listed as any time before the start of lap 63. You've got to make 2 pit stops in this race, but you can make them anytime you like, basically, with the exception of the last 2 laps.
Well, that much is very, very crucial for the strategy games. Everybody knows what the rules are. Everybody knows how they are to play then with this one. Lights are off on top of the iRacing roof first safety car, as everyone will, well, actually, I should say the iRacing Porsche first safety car, as they will look to go green this time by. And you can see just the difference in styles of trying to save fuel. You can see how Jared Filsell wants to stay right up to the back of that Porsche safety car. You can see Ethan Grigault wants to stay as far back as possible. But heading onto the back stretch, expect Filsell just to drop back, allow that safety car to gain a little bit of a gap as things go. And a single file restart, this is going to be a lot easier than a double filed start, which we saw cleanly work in the early stages of this one at the start of the event. But Ethan Grigault, all he needs to do is just get a way down the inside. If he can do that, he can start holding up Jared Filsell, which I think is his plan, or what he needs to do. He was starting to fall back a little bit in the opening 5 laps of this event.
Yes, big gap between from the safety car that Filsell is leaving right now. Will be going green very, very soon. You had something to say, Jake?
I certainly do, because I'm taking this one off at the start. Jared Filsell then, pace car, dives down onto the lane right about now. The wait continues, looking to pick it up off of the exit here. It's a long hold. He finally goes. He tries to coordinate it with his teammates. Green flag in the air. Grigault under pressure then from Jake Burton, who thinks about the inside. Madison down on the outside of his own teammate. Wants to try and make that move. Unable. Side by side behind, though, as it's going to be Richard Hampstead and Lee Ellis going at it, with Forzan Elnabi already dropping a position. Stenberg and Warren side by side up the S's then here on lap number 8 as they get going. Filsell got the perfect run that he needed. And again, that's Jake Burton tagging the wall ever so slightly out of turn 3. Still side by side, Stenberg and Harvey.
Yes, indeed. Really jostling in the back there. So Luke Harvey almost went side by side with Jordan Ross. Have a look as they come up to the bus stop. Once again, Emily Jones. And have a look at that. Jordan Ross, he is off. Goodness me. And another pack just coming on here as Jordan Ross goes back onto the racetrack. Corey Preston, a little bit disadvantaged there. So Jordan Ross stuck on the inside, and the oversteer happened. He could not recover from it. So Jordan Ross with more positions lost as we're coming up to the end of this first lap post-caution.
Yes, we are, as Jared Filsell maintains his race lead at the front of the field. So looking a little bit further down, Dane Warren now has got to start attacking. His next victim is Forzan Elnabi, this one for 9th position on the road. So every single position now, Dane Warren is starting to make some moves, and he's making $1 million moves, it seems, at this stage. Every move he touched right now is Midas. It's turning to gold.
Certainly. Dane Warren doing very well in that pack right now. Elnabi, his restart was not the best that it could have been. He actually fell victim to Lee Ellis there, as well as we're looking at Mitchell Ciolak right now.
The outside he tries, and he's going to go get it with Riley Blythe, and Blythe holds on to position then for the moment. So there's a little bit of crisscrosses now. Ethan Warren thinks about attacking it down the inside. That one not going to work. So Ciolak maybe under a bit of pressure just in front of that. Wayne Burke, who started 23rd, he's looking to get past Scott Zyslowski here, is just in front of that. Side by side, they thought about it there. Emily Jones on Brady Myers, just not forthcoming with that move.
Certainly not, and I think this post-caution phase of racing, the caution came out when in the middle of all of these battles. They're still not decided. So Emily Jones with a draft now on Brady Myers. She's going to go for the move here at turn 1. Will Myers hold it? Oh, he's given it a red-hot go. They're going to continue to go side by side, but I think he's going to have to yield here through the S's.
Oh, yielding indeed. And, well, that is Brady Myers dropping the position. Now Brenton Hobson wants to get on this train here. He's +6 already for the day. Wants to go +7 here. Get past Brady Myers for now. Not going to be the case as they make the run to the chicane. A look, but only that. A look there for Brenton Hobson. And Hobson, after a second at the circuit of Sonoma, this is not where he wants to be, but he is making moves.
He certainly is, and you know, making moves at this stage of the race is all you need to do. You just got to keep it clean. You just got to make sure that you're staying in someone's draft at all times. I'm seeing a potential move as Wayne Burke had a little bit of a look at Scott Zyslowski in the background, but yeah, Brenton Hobson doing everything he needs to right now as Burke goes for the move on Seslowski. Oh.
And Seslowski almost finding the same fate as when he tried to make the move on Glenn Postlethwaite. He's shoved out all the way to the tyres, and now here comes Brett Cananzi down to the inside, looking to make the move, and will get one. So now Michael Cracknell tries to make it a 2-for-1 offer at the supermarket. It's closed for the moment, but to opening times, maybe just in a moment, because side by side through 2, side by side through turn number 3, they get together, and Cracknell holds it together somehow as they all just file around, and this is going to be an almighty slog. 3 wide in the back, 2 wide twice in the front. This is Noah's Ark stuff.
Well held there from Michael Cracknell. That could have been a lot worse than it was. Oh no! It's just gone worse! The table has been flipped. Michael Cracknell around. Who else was involved
Daniel
in that?
Williams.
Goodness me. Oh wow, that was
as well.
optimal.
It was always looking like it was going to be turned around. In the end, it is, and the incident happens. They all get good. Side by side, then Myers and Hobson going at it. Hobson around the outside of 7. That's a beautiful move. Hobbo is making them.
Yeah, certainly, but Myers trying to come back at him here. A little bit of rear-end contact. Not quite the run that Brenton Hobson would have wanted. He gives Myers just enough room. In fact, even a little bit less than a car width as they come down to turn 1. Does Hobson have the extra pace through turn 1 to make the move stick? Yes, he does. And they go through into the S's now with the positions switched. But Wayne Burke, Brett Cananzi is still there.
Yeah, also Dane Warren, though, he's trying to attack Forzan El Nabi, but he's just got nothing that he can give. The gaps are starting to splinter out a little bit then in the front packs, because it's now seeming like there's a gap between Lee Ellis and Richard Hampstead of about 0.8 of a second. That's just going to make Dane Warren's life a bit more difficult to get to the front. He's just got to try and jump it, and all of a sudden Jake Burton also dropping off of the back of your leading pair.
Yeah, he is. So Jared Filsell and Ethan Griggold seems to be, as I'm hearing Brian Borg is around. That is not optimal for him. He's, it was just at the bus stop. He's managed to get going again, though, so that's good.
Yeah, very good from him. Able to keep things going out on circuit. Lots of very, very fun packs that we're seeing right in the middle. Mitchell Cholak, for example, is trying to attack Scott Seslowski at the moment as they make the run to the 90. Behind that, Ethan Warren trying to get in. Also Jordan Ross, also Corey Preston. It is very much, you got to find it. Cholak all over sideways out of the 90. That's going to hurt his run, but crucially, he's got some draft to work with.
He certainly has, and Ethan Warren didn't have anywhere to go there to try and make a move. Of course, now Ciolak is the meat in an all-star motorsports sandwich, but he may become the top bun at the moment coming down into the chicane, and he manages to get the move done very nicely on Seslowski.
Yeah, easy, comfortable move. So now it's the next one down the line that they need to keep on pushing. It's almost a case of get off the tracks because you are offline, and when you're offline here at Watkins Glen, it's so easy for things to go wrong. Here comes Ethan Warren, though, down to the inside of his teammate at turn 7, and look at that, maybe a bit more room than other times you'd see between drivers. Just because they're teammates, they just give themselves just that little bit extra to try and send one through. Ross thought about it, ends up not going for it at the moment. So further forward through the field right now. Focus, though, on Dane Warren. He is through on Forzan El Nabi on that last lap, and he did that right into the penultimate corner. That was giving no room to El Nabi there on the outside. He made it look comfortable.
He certainly did. Now, Dane Warren, what he needs to focus on is drafting up to the back of Lee Ellis, who I have to say is doing rather well. Lee Ellis, we've seen him quite a few rounds in the past in a bit of a no man's land around the top 15, maybe on the verge of the top 20 as well. But his form at Watkins Glen has been excellent so far. Question is, will he be able to hold off Dane Warren when he gets up to him? I somehow doubt it.
Battle of teammates as well. Ethan Griggold is looking to push and attack, but it's Madison Down versus Jake Burton at the moment for position number 3. I just want to keep an eye on this one because Madison Down needs to start thinking about, okay, if I'm going to drop outside of a second, I've got to maybe do some work of my own, and we know how the strategy can really come into play. Right now, Madison Down knows he's got to get his strategy right, especially when you're holding Ford and Hampstead as a bit of extra luggage.
Yes, indeed. So as they come up through the S's, question is, will Down and Burton switch places? It looks to me like Madison Down was the better part of 2/10 quicker on the last lap, and Jake Burton, of course, has a huge gap to Ethan Griggold. So will Down go for the move here? No, he will not. He's just going to stay behind for another few corners, actually losing a bit of ground through the middle part of the bus stop. So Ian Ford, I think, will definitely be liking this. He's got ample opportunity to fuel save and a couple of battling teammates. And meanwhile, I'm seeing in the InSim spectator chat, mad accident down the back. Actually, not the spectator chat. Benjamin Smith said that, and the caution is out. That was for Warren Pickering. What on earth happened to him?
I have no idea, so I'm going to have a look, because that's at turn number 2 that he is on the circuit, and I'm not sure I'm even going to get a look at that one. I think it's actually happened a little bit before that as well, so a lot of damage for Warren Pickering. He couldn't bring it back home.
Yeah, certainly. It happened at turn 1, apparently. That is a real shame there for Warren. He was doing okay, going up in around the top 30 on his top split debut. So, wow, real shame. And that has unfortunately brought out the second portion of the race. Scott Nolan and Michael Taliancic involved as well.
Well, can Taliancic stay out of trouble at the moment in this race? Absolutely not then, as the safety car is involved. You can see the smoke that is billowing out of that vehicle. And, well, you know, when you get that vehicle stopped, it's never going to be useful. We've got Sam Blacklock, though, who was involved in the first caution. Sam, first of all, are you okay?
Yeah, bit of a headache after that one. Yeah, that was a bell ringer for sure.
So what happened then during your incident?
I don't know. I think just from the start of that race, I really had I had a feeling something wasn't going to go my way. And Wayne had already pulled a few sort of, I guess, low percentage pass attempts on me, and he redressed them, which is good. But that sort of gave Riley the run around the outside of me coming up the hill, and he took it, and I knew he was there. So across the top, you got to give each other room, but you got to be careful. And yeah, a bit of net code between us, and I probably didn't, just maybe a few mil too close to him, and yeah, big accident, huge.
How does this affect your championship picture moving forward?
Well, I already missed the first round, and I've had a shocking 2 rounds after that. So yeah, it's not looking good for me at the moment, but I just gotta stay positive and hope I come back strong at the end of the season.
No worries, we'll let you go then. Sam Blacklock going there out of the event, but the pit window is open and they're all in and they're hitting each other on the run into pit road. Another vehicle was off. That was Scott Nolan there. He's on the pit wall, but that was Ethan Griggold and also Jake Burton running into each other. So contact on the lane. That could be little bits of damage. They all look to find their box. They all look for fuel.
Yeah, they certainly do. Have a look at that. It's almost like a feeding frenzy of sharks down in the pit lane. Oh yeah,
that's a Nabi missed box.
Oh yeah, and he's spinning his rear wheels.
Well, I think he was just trying to get himself going forward, and I guess he gets us up on the jacks at exactly the same time. So there's that one. Who comes out of pit road first? They all go. Phil Sell doesn't. Phil Sell doesn't. He loses 1, 2, 3 positions coming out of pit road. Very, very vital. And Burton lets him go. Oh. How interesting is that? Burton lets Phil Sell go out of pit road. And crucially enough, Ian Ford gets out of the way as well in that one. I think Phil Sell made the marker first.
Yeah, I think he did. So very well done there from Jared Phil Sell to get that going. Meanwhile, I was looking in the background. Dane Warren and I think Lee Ellis were going side by side out of the pit lane. So, wow, big scenes here, jostling around, looking for a position. And of course, once they get back out on the track, they're not allowed to pass. So once you cross that pit exit line, you better hope you're the car in front.
You better hope you are the car in front indeed. But crucially, Ethan Griggold has jumped Jared Phil Sell in the stops. 2 drivers have stayed out, though, for the moment. That is Brett Loxton and Kyle James. So they are maybe thinking that they can go an extra stint without maybe a caution. Maybe their strategy is requiring them to go long. Things that you need to remember, Carl James is currently 9 laps down at the moment. Brett Lockton then is your net race leader, the only driver on the leading lap who did not come down and make a stop. So Brett Loxton will lead this event. As for now, on that pace car, lights are off. We're getting ready to go again. Field will be behind Kyle James, but that's not what we typically get to see. It will technically be behind Brett Loxton. As round the final corner goes Kyle James, I wonder if he'll pull out of the way. The field's behind him. Let's get ourselves going then. Brett Loxton leads this field. Green flag goes. Phil Sell immediately under pressure from Jake Burton as they make the run to turn number 1. And he got caught out there, did Jared Phil Sell. Side by side, they go 3 wide in the back as they look to go through. And there's contact.
Whoa.
That's Madison down making contact. Hampstead down the middle. Down needs to find some space. He's got Ian Ford in the middle. They hold it together. Side by side, though, further in front. That's Noah's Ark this one as they head up to the S's.
Yes, indeed, an almost contact between Hampstead and Ford, but they both did really well to hold their positions down. Meanwhile, have a look at Lee Ellis. He even bump drafted Ian Ford a little bit. So good was the run that he had. Forzan El Nabi in the background looking to try and get something done here. Dane Warren versus Madison down through the chicane, and Dane Warren, goodness me, he's absolutely hounding the back of him right now. Luke Harvey going wide in the bus stop, and oh my goodness, they're almost going 3 wide in the back there. Hobson, Burke, goodness.
For the lead down the inside. Ethan Grigott, he's got to make it on Loxton now because Phil Sell's going to go to the outside to try and make the move. So now he's out of position here as they head towards the 90. Looking for the up and under now is Jared Phil Sell as he looks to take his championship rival. They almost make contact as they make the run to the pit wall. Everybody making that charge, and also Madsen down, dropping 2 positions. Down to the inside goes Jared Phil Sell, and suddenly here comes Burson looking for the up and under as well. Ethan Grigott out of position. There's 2 positions gone.
Yes, it is, but I don't know if that's what he wants or not, because, you know, you got to think about the fuel saving as well. If he can do anything to try and save a little bit more fuel, remember, he's got to make another pit stop. If he can minimize that time spent, then that's all well and good. But yeah, I mean, that car of Brett Loxton there in the lead has really factored into this fight for the lead.
It certainly has. Brett Loxton, he's got every right to be fighting at the front as there's a vehicle going very far behind. That is Ian Ford as he drops 3 positions. He tries to get the power down the exit, gets a big slide. He actually tanks the wall as well, so there may be damage on that machine. He's now behind Dane Warren, who is very happy about that position. Here's the battle for the lead, though. Phil Sell down to the inside of Brett Loxton. Loxton not much to fight back with, can attack, though, on the inside of turn number 8, and is going to fight back. And now look how slow it is. Big block for Burton.
Yes, certainly, and that has allowed Ethan Grigott back through as they go 3 wide down the front straight. Tell you what, Brett Loxton, I don't envy him right now. He's in a very awkward position with all of these front-running guys around him, but Ethan Grigott, thanks to that little interesting maneuver there, has back into 2nd place, and I think now he can try and stay in touch with Phil Sell as Loxton... Oh, hits Madison's wall! He's around! There he goes! More contact! Big, huge incident for Brett Loxton, and I don't know whether or not that is going to be another caution for sure. And that is really awkward. Brett Loxton actually instantly escapes. He didn't ask for permission.
Oh, that will be a penalty after the fact. So Brett Loxton, big incident. And he is frustrated with that one because he was in a great place there and he was just starting to be slightly freight trained with the older tyres that he had on his vehicle, and suddenly Brett Loxton falling backwards, and then the big one happens with Richard Hampstead in tow as well. That is what I call scary. And for Richard Hampstead, he's got no bonnet on that machine. He surely has to come down for repairs.
Yeah, certainly. Wow, goodness me. That's pretty heavy damage on the front of Hampstead's car, so... Oh, it's happened again, the big one.
And this is what people aren't going to understand here with what's going on. Yes, this is the 3rd caution that we've had here in this event inside of the opening 20 laps. But you have to remember that this circuit really does lend itself to cautions being thrown just because of how narrow and how really tight this circuit is.
Yeah, for sure. You know, Watkins Glen, it can seem like a super wide circuit at first glance, but when you think about the speeds at which you're attacking some of these corners, the relative racing surface actually narrows down quite a bit. So it's very easy for an incident like that to happen, especially up at the top of the S's where they're passing through now, up at Madison's wall. You hit that wall even a slight little bit, and your race is as good as done, as is a lot of the guys behind you.
Well, let's get a look then at the top 10 as things stands, because it is Jared Filsell, though, who has the lead. Ethan Griggolt in second. Jake Burton is in third. Lee Ellis now is up into fourth position. What a drive he's having here today. Same can be said right now for Dane Warren in sixth, with Richard Hampstead, the meat in the middle, with Madison back down to seventh. Ian Ford in eighth. Ninth now for Zan El-Nabi. And Luke Harvey at the moment, Reese, rounds out 10.
Yeah, good run there from Luke Harvey to try and make his way through all of that carnage, now running in 10th. Meanwhile, the Apex Replicas Trans-Tasman racing cars of Kurt Stenberg and Emily Jones run behind him. Riley Blythe in 13th. So that's your field at the top part of the queue at the moment, but who knows how that's going to change before the end. Like, we're not even a third of the way into the race at the moment.
Well, we're just about looking to hit that mark when they cross the line. So there's a lot of pushing and shoving going on. Everybody a little bit on edge. Now, here's something that isn't normally talked about in these V8 SCOPS. It's the tyre heat cycle of having to continuously restart, slow down, restart. Do you risk burning your tyres out the same way you would do in an Indy car?
No, you don't. You want to try and preserve the tire as much as possible, especially around a track like this. I mean, getting heat into the tires is one thing, but these corners are so high load and in such a heavy car, you want to try and keep the tires in as pristine a state as possible. You don't want to do any silly maneuvers under caution.
Lights are off on top of the iRacing Porsche first safety car. So, well, this time by, we're going to go green once more. Lee Ellis has been a very, very astute mover. He's not done much, but I think he's doing enough right now to really stand out in this pack. If he can get a good jump, he could even catch Jake Burton unawares.
Yeah, he certainly could. So, at this point, it's now gearing up for the start, and there's quite a few people who could spring a surprise.
Well, a surprise that is very much needed. So, all the surprises that we've seen so far have been in cases of the big one, and nobody really wants to be involved in incidents that are hairy, scary, and are pretty much sending them upside down. Watkins Glen is ferocious, and upstate New York is seeing quite a few repair bills after this event. We are down to 33 drivers on the leading lap then, as things stand in the racing. And for anybody wanting to know where our split 2 winner was, Thomas McMillan, he is in 26th position right now, chasing down Corey Preston, the 2 most explosive drivers when it comes to their racing action. But Ethan Griggolt waits behind Jared Filsell, wants to get a good start this time. Didn't have a good start the last time. Jared Filsell had a bit of control in front of the field. He knows that Jake Burton behind can coordinate the start with Jared Filsell. The 2 teammates can work together on this one, and that's where Ethan Griggolt has to be so strong at the front of this field. Everybody else, though, getting a little bit impatient. Watch for Hampstead, though. He may be dropping back with the damage that he has available. I think Dane Warren wants to attack first. Pace car, though, will look to dive in. Jared Filsell, long wait, gets going, and they jump over each other. That almost didn't work for Lee Ellis there. Side by side it will be. Burton and Griggolt. And now Lee Ellis thinking about 3 wide into the 90. He thinks better of it. Decides to take out the driver of Ethan Griggolt.
Oh no, Luke
And now look at this. Here comes Hampstead. 3 wide, we're going to go up the S's. This is brave. This is bold. Griggolt bows out, and there's contact with Ellis. They somehow hold it together.
Oh, goodness me. This is not what you want on a first lap. Back in the background, there were quite a few incidents that could have really factored into this. Have a look at Lee Ellis's run on Richard Hampstead. Oh my goodness, Ethan Griggolt trying to make it through on the inside. Lee Ellis breaks nice and early. Ethan Griggolt making contact with Richard Hampstead. I don't think that was going to work. So Griggolt and Hampstead are both off. It's all gone wrong for the Evolution Racing Team driver as he has to clear a slowdown on the inside of the carousel.
and Hampstead's clearing one on the outside as well, and he clears his first so he can get going, but he's now dropped behind Riley Blythe, behind Wayne Bork. Big mistakes then for Ethan Griggold. Championship implications, 2-car breakaway. Phil Sell and Burton run for the hills. Battle for third all of a sudden has Dane Warren looking at it against Lee Ellis. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. Meanwhile, there's more contact in the background. Jake Blackhall, Mitchell Sealack and Brady Myers getting together at the moment. This battle here for third place is really looking awesome at the moment. Burton and Phil Sell well and truly pulled away, but Lee Ellis, oh goodness me, he's heading up a huge freight train of cars. So it's Ellis, Warren, Elnavi, Down, Stenberg and Blythe in this pack at the moment. Who will be making the first move? Looks like it might be Dane Warren. Here he comes, Forza, and Elnavi pulls out and has a look, but Dane Warren going through on the inside into the bus stop. He manages to hold it very nicely, so he is now in third place and wondering if he'll be able to chase down the top two.
Well, he is already 3 seconds back of that pack, so he's got work to do in terms of this one. Ellis is only going back, so Elnavi, Down, Stenberg, Blythe, Burke, Griggold, Jones, Hobson, Hampstead, Blackhawk. It's all going down. This train continues. It extends probably as far back as Zachary Hanlon. Down to the inside, Brady Myers has a look on Jake Blackhall. That's not going to work on the ERT machine. Big wiggle from Hampstead as he looks to try and get the power down. And actually off, almost in the wall in front of them there, is not Ethan Griggold, but Riley Blythe there going slow.
Yes, indeed. So he's lost quite a few positions out of that. And Emily Jones then will go through on him, but oh wow, this has been a super chaotic restart. Brady Myers and Blackhall further down there, as well as Sealack and Hanlon going side by side. That is not going to end well. Contact. That's Sealack into the wall, and that is more cars into the wall once again. Huge pile up. It's happened again. Sort it out, people.
Well, caution 4. Well, they tried to go side by side at the S's, and I think drivers are maybe being a bit too bold in the middle of the pack. This is still only lap 24 of the event. This is still only 1/3 distance just over. There's a long way to go in this one. I think that the stewards will have a lot of work cut out through this event to make things work. Big incident then, and that one really will hurt things for the moment. So Phil Sell, that gap, that 3-second gap that was built, Phil Sell and Burton, that's gone down. Dane Warren will be incredibly happy about this because he is now up into third position and he has a portal to attack Trans-Tasman Racing.
He does. That caution has really given him the mother of all chances to try and go for the win of this race. He's already on the podium, so what can Dane Warren do from here? That is the big question, as the safety car is going to come out of the pits just ahead of Jared Phil Sell. So your top 5 as it stands right now are Phil Sell, Burton, Warren, Ellis, and Elnavi. Lee Ellis continuing his fantastic run in this race. Madison Down has fallen to 6th place at the moment. Tell you what, one of the big movers at the moment though, Wayne Burke.
Wayne Burke, 23rd up to 8th. But I tell you what, driver of the day at the moment is going to have to be the pace car at the moment because it seemingly has led the most laps.
It certainly has, and you know what? I'm just gonna go on off on an opinion tangent here. 1 caution, fine, probably expected. 2 cautions, okay. 3 cautions, maybe. But we're coming up to an amount of cautions in this first half of the race that I think is getting a little bit ridiculous. It's helping the spectator experience, certainly, ensuring close racing. But I think from a driver's perspective, you'd start rolling your eyes a little.
Well, it's that stop-start nature. It's how you maintain yourself and how you continue to go forward. This is all helping the fuel game, especially for that third stop, or the second stop, sorry, that we're going to see. It means that a lot less fuel is going to be piled into that vehicle because you are able to save, lift, and coast and clutch your way around the track. And you can see how Dane Warren goes side by side with Jake Burton. Half of that is I'm saving fuel. Half of that is a message. I'm going down your inside when we start again.
Yes, indeed. And the question is, what will Jake Burton do to respond to that? Because I've noticed he's the TTR Momo cars have really been in sync with Jared when it comes to the restarts. What is Jake Burton going to do? Because I've been observing him on the restarts. He's really done well on them. So it's up to Dane Warren to try and stay with him when they go racing again.
Lee Ellis feigns a dive down onto the lane. I'm not sure we're going to take any takers this time. In fact, Ethan Griggolt is going to come down and repair some damage. This is effectively a free stop at this stage for Ethan Griggolt. I don't think he can get to the end on a tank of fuel from here, but I think it's certainly worth repairing any damage that the vehicle has.
Yeah. Oh, I honestly don't know, man. It's if Ethan only wants to repair damage, then it's probably not going to work out well for him. But I hope he takes other bits of service to the car here, as I'm seeing a few other drivers pulling in. It looks like Ethan may have taken a splash of fuel there.
Ian Ford comes in, Richard Hampstead comes in, so does David Moore and Michael Cracknell. Side by side down the lane is Brian Borg and Bruce Kiley looking to get out of the lane as well. So a few takers then. The strategy becomes very, very interesting. Phil Sell, though, he has the lead of this event. He's wanted the lead of this event right from the very beginning here, Reese. Half a lap to go before we go green once more. I think Jared Phil Sell wants to control pace, as that's probably the way he loves driving the most.
Yeah, of course. That that's basically been his experience so far this season. He's been the one controlling the racing pretty much everywhere except Phillip Island. So now that he is in the lead here and possibly has the possibility of Jake Burton being a bit bumped around, I guess, in a metaphorical sense by Dane Warren, this could be his opportunity to try and stretch out a gap.
Well, the opportunity is there. It is now still 3 vehicles inside the top 4 in the top 6 for Trans-Tasman Racing. But the big issue they have is the fact they've got a Dane Warren in the mix and a Forzan El Nabi who has just sat and played the patient game all day long. Fortunately, we haven't seen the big one too much from the front of the field. They've been able to gather up vehicles quite nicely, but this is all about now how you maintain your concentration, as Jared Philsell now gives the gap to the pace car, the Porsche first safety car, which is going to dive down onto pit road. Philsell goes early and looks to try and cover the move very early. Warren has to defend then from the driver of Lee Ellis as El Nabi defends from Madison down into turn number 1. An early jump that maybe caught the ASM driver off guard with 2 late jumps on the last 2 restarts, but it's good enough to hold on for now as they now get themselves through the S's for what is the 28th time in this event.
Yes, indeed, and Jake Burton has stayed with Jared Philsell very well there. And coming up through the S's once again, Dane Warren. He's still in the draft range of Burton, but he'll probably be facing a bit of pressure from Ellis if he doesn't get up to the back of Burton again quick, smart. So they come back into the bus stop once again. Looks like single file for the most part down through the field. I'm seeing Michael Cracknell going for the move on David Moore, who has messed up his run through the chicane. But other than that, it's looking reasonably stable, or not. Have a look at Forzan El Nabi versus Madison down coming into the penultimate turn. El Nabi had to stay wide there. Meanwhile, looking like Kurt Stenberg wanting to get in on it as well, but he's got pressure there from Wayne Burke. So all these guys are just taking the better part of a lap to get a grip on their races and just reset and start attacking again.
Start again. So here is Emily Jones now attacking Wayne Burke. So you go attack down the line, you'll have to defend down the line as well. So Jones defending, Riley Blythe just behind. Hobson maybe a little bit of a gap.
No. Brett Cananzi, McMillan and Luke Harvey going 3 wide coming into the S's. Come on, guys.
Yeah, they hold it. Oh, just about there goes Thomas McMillan. Here comes Luke Harvey trying to make the move. Ross Rizzo in the mix. Scott Lardock there. Actually out of the team of Evolution Racing Team. Down the inside goes McMillan as he makes the move there on Cananzi. Yes, it's 3 wide. Yes, we maybe don't like it as much, but that was still a good move.
Yeah, it certainly was. Well held by all those drivers. If only all of the incidents through the S's went that way. Jason Hyde getting through on Daniel Williams as Ethan Griggolt continues to try and pick his way through this field. Oh, goodness. Wow.
Careful, Daniel. Cutting him off at the nose. Not going to help. Around the outside of Hyde then. We'll have the inside at turn number 8 as Williams hang out to dry. As Greg Galt maybe just a bit gentlemanly there as he goes through. Still remain side by side to the 90.
no,
and Skolak having a big wiggle.
That was Hampstead, sorry, my mistake. Got the TTL cars confused there, but all of these guys are bunched up massively. Oh, have a look at Ian Ford. Just trying to get a bit of a run, but not succeeding. Or is he? Hampstead gives him a tiny bit of room, little bit of contact, and Ian Ford's run is ruined. Thank goodness he didn't get into the wall. We might have had another caution. And cautions as the battle for second and third continues on, Jake. I will have to correct you. The safety car is indeed still a Roof RT12R. It's still got the branding.
Oh, that's a shame. But Dave Warren, though, still looking to attack Jake Burton. And this is the issue he's got. He wants to make the move and make the move quickly. The longer this goes on, the more that it is going to favour those Trans-Tasman machines, who are very, very consistent over the basis of a long run. Dane Warren needs to make moves quickly. It's almost like he's trying to do blitzkrieg driving.
Yeah, Dane Warren down this front stretch. He's having a little bit of a look at Jake Burton. Just taking another look at the weather. We've still got the northerly winds at about 15 kilometers an hour, so it's a headwind down the front straight. That's going to help Warren a little bit, but this tailwind coming down the back stretch, also through the S's, is going to be interesting. See how that factors into it. Dane Warren, he has a little bit of a run here on Burton, but yeah, not close enough. Just going to lift off, save a little bit, but he's staying right on the bumper of Jake.
He certainly is, and well, Dane Warren knows that he's got to start positioning, and this is tactical chess at 160 miles an hour plus as they go through side by side in the back of the pack. Ford finally makes his way past Hampstead, just about gives enough room. Hampstead had to yield, and now Michael Cracknell waits behind. So positioned, being jumped through. Greg Galt has already made his way through Daniel Williams, so he's up into 21st. It's now ex-teammate Scott Larnock he's got to get through, and I wonder how that dynamic's going to work.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Scott Larnock recently left Evolution Racing Team, but, you know, we don't know the details of the circumstances of the way he left, so...
I do.
Oh, do you? Well, okay. I'll leave it to you to describe that then. But Scott Larnock versus Ethan Greg Galt will be interesting to see how that turns out, because they've also got Ross Rizzo factored into it. So, oh god, they're coming up to the S's again. I get a little my heart seizes up every time they go through the S's.
Well, it's always a concern when an incident has happened, and a few incidents have happened, but it's about how you manage and how you keep yourself in place when you get into these sorts of areas. Brenton Hobson, for example, still got Jake Blackhall behind in the battle for 11th, 12th, 13th. Brady Miles, a lot of work to do to get to Riley Blythe. They have broken away as the battle between Stenberg and also Burke hops up. Burke really looking to attack Stenberg here through 7 and 8 and look to set up a run, especially with Stenberg not having draft.
Yeah, certainly. So it'll be up to Wayne Burke to see what he can make of this. I tell you what, Stenberg as well as Jones showing the TTR form at Watkins Glen is certainly held up over the years. These guys have always been fantastic at Watkins Glen. So to see them all in the top 10 as Warren has a run on Burton, tell you what, up at the front, it's not entirely plain sailing.
It's not plain sailing. He may need to try and go to the inside again. He can't make it work. So it seems that it's a good top speed effort then. And maybe even the draft from Jared Filsell is just what is keeping Burton in second position for the moment, because Warren wants to attack, but he just doesn't seem to have the perfect run. It almost seems that he's just getting out of the wake slightly through the first part of the S's. That's really hampering any sort of run that he wants to do later on in his charge. Larnock has been overtaken by Ethan Greg Galt. Now Brett Cananzi is next on the list.
Yes, indeed. So Ethan Greg Galt continuing his way through the field. Luke Harvey getting by Thomas McMillan as well at the final corner. So from Ethan's perspective, he's in a bunch of cars that are slower than he is on one lap pace. He's just got to be careful. That's the one thing that I always say at these races. You have to be careful, because in a race as long as this, one incident can spell the end for you, as I'm seeing Ian Ford trying to get by Daniel Williams in the background at turn 1. Not quite successful, though.
No, and Preston, and almost contact there with Hanlon. Hanlon was not going to give him the route. He moved over, even almost ran himself into Madison's wall as he looked to go through turn 3. So that was held on Hanlon, and Hanlon keeps the position. But Preston knows that he wants to get back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he certainly does. Meanwhile, Ford and Williams going hell for leather through the bus stop. The racing, once again, absolutely heating up, and I think the drivers have gotten into a bit of a rhythm now. They've gotten over that crazy opening phase where there's been a bunch of cautions, and now they're getting comfortable, looking to take a few chances at other places around the track. Oh, have a look at Jason Hyde.
Heidi Hi, Hody Ho. So Jason Hyde looking at his defence behind him. There's Hampstead going down the inside of Cracknell into the wall. Holds it together though. We stay green. We keep going. Nothing wrong with that though. A couple of positions lost. Williams though still in that scrap now with Jordan Ross. And it's not often that we talk about a Williams and a Ford having a battle.
Yeah, certainly. That's quite good, actually. Have a look at that. Jordan Ross almost going up the inside of Daniel Williams, but at that point, you're better off backing out and waiting for the draft down the back straight. Ian Ford has gotten a very good gap now as, have a look at Ross. He's got a bit of a run here on Williams, who does have damage, so that's affecting his straight line speed a bit. Meanwhile, Richard Hampstead a little bit offline in the background there. Not quite the line that you want to be taking into the bus stop there, Richard.
No, it's not. And that's the battle then going on from position 22 on backwards here. So a lot of work being done, a lot of drivers having to figure out where is it that I want to battle on lap 35, who is it that I'm fighting against on lap 35, and suddenly at the front of this field, Lee Ellis is starting to get dropped a bit from the back of Dane Warren. That's the sort of cadence that Phil Sell and Burton are having to run. It means that he's falling backwards into the clutches of Madison Down.
Yeah, that's 100% right. From Ellis's perspective, I suppose, what do you do in that situation? You're having basically the run of your season so far, but Madison Down, he's got a battle for the championship on his hands as Ellis takes to the grass a little bit. Do you let him go?
Well, if you're fighting for the championship, it depends on how the team works. If there's no team orders, you fight. If there's team orders, you let him go. It's as simple as that. It's Kurt Stenberg, though, still under pressure from Wayne Burke side by side. Emily Jones and Riley Blythe. This one for 9th and 10th out on circuit. And Jones holding on to things for the moment as they head into the left-hander of turn number 7, heading for turn number 8 on the brake. So Riley Blythe is looking feisty, is looking aggressive. Big slide coming out to the final corner and looking to charge. And very soon, we may be starting to think about the second round of stops.
Yeah, we certainly will. Question is whether they'll be under green flag conditions with the race that we've had so far. Emily Jones managing to get a good run out of turn 1 with Blythe just trailing behind. Blythe, of course, is carrying a little bit of damage from his occasional appointments with the walls, so it's probably in his best interests to stay in the draft, as I'm seeing Wayne Burke draft up to the back of Kurt Stenberg once again. You can see that the field is starting to separate into their little battle packs, and this is the kind of racing that I like the most.
Whoa, big off! Big off for Hanlon there at the chicane. He lost it on entry. That was scary. Yeah. He's fortunate he was all on his own. Just gets a tyre on the grass on entry, and he spears it into the Armco.
Yeah, goodness me. And that's something that we've seen quite a bit, especially in qualifying. Just drivers getting a little bit wrong on the entry to the corners, but Zach carrying quite a bit of damage, and he is stopped on the exit of the bus stop, wondering if he will escape very soon. He is safe. He does. He's not in a place where he could be causing any danger, so I don't think he'll be seeing a caution. Yeah, goodness. Warren still attacking the back of Jake Burton. through the S's. Burton slightly offline. Warren taking a little bit more of the curb to get a bit of a better run. It looks like he's actually got it this time. Burton almost going defensive, leaving Warren just enough room. Will Warren be able to get through on the outside of the chicane? Yes, he will!
Oh, power move. Dane Warren, but look at Burton try and come back. He's going to try and force it to the inside, harass the rear of Warren, give the second to Jared Filsell, give him the opportunity to break away. That's the crucial factor, though. Wide on the exit goes Dane Warren. Here comes back Jake Burton then, who has to go the long way around at turn 7. That will mean he'll have the inside for turn 8. Big wiggle on the entry, though. Has to force him out of the line, out of the throttle. So Jake Burton loses the position, but Dane Warren, 12th to 2nd.
My God, Dane Warren, fantastic run. Meanwhile, in the background, Madison down versus Lee Ellis. Madison has a little bit of a run, but he's just creeping up the inside, and there's a little bit of contact between the teammates. So Ellis is now going to probably let Madison go here. Just lifts slightly and falls back into line. Now his duty goes to defending from Forzan El Nabi.
And that's well worth it for Lee Ellis right now. El Nabi still looking quite feisty, quite quick at this stage of the event. So 1.3 seconds the gap now for Jared Filsell. The 1 second he's waiting for another vehicle slow. That's Daniel Williams. That's in a much dangerous more position. I think maybe something could be done about it. Caution comes out for Daniel Williams, and that is caution 5. What happened to him?
I'm going to rewind and have a look. Oh, goodness me. His car does look very banged up as we have a replay out on screen. Williams was stopped for quite a while, actually. Unfortunately, I don't have the visuals of what happened. But
nor do I. I have no idea.
Yeah. So you will be seeing it on the broadcast as it stands right now, but there we go. Looks like he just looped it through the bus stop on his own.
Oh, dear me. So Daniel Williams forces caution 5. Now, this is interesting. We're lap 39 of 64. I reckon you could get home from here. I reckon it may be worth making the stop.
Yeah, I think so. I think the pit stop, the pit lane, sorry, is going to be a flurry of activity right now. I think drivers will be realizing, you know, this is the prime opportunity to not have to pit again during the race, because we saw how long the period was. Ethan Grigg Gold actually passing quite a few people. He could be actually passing everybody. So that could be a masterstroke. But what you've got to think about is how long that period of green flag running was. Might there be a longer period now that that chaotic opening race period is gone? If you don't pit under this caution, you're taking a big gamble.
I tell you what, we had 12 laps there of green flag running, so right now nothing has really suggested that you can get home without a caution. So right now, I think stopping probably would be the good idea, and you may have an opportunity to stop again, maybe for tyres at the end of this one, with Daniel Williams still stricken out on circuit. But that has thrown a spanner in the works then, and the big works right now is 4 Trans-Tasman machines inside of the top 5. Forzan El Nabi in 6th position. Right now, you know, you probably have to come in. You have to cover it off. You know the fuel is going to be maybe running down more and more. It's just a case of, do you want that now or do you want that later? If you're Ethan Grigg Gold, surely you have to stay out in this situation right now here, Reese.
Yeah, for certain. I can't imagine Ethan Grigg Gold doing anything other than staying out of the pits. We're going to see in just a few moments what the drivers are going to do behind the safety car, who is going to peel into the pits. Looks like the entirety of the top 4. Yeah, actually, everyone. Have a look at that.
Everybody decides that this is their number, hit the lane and hit the cone. So who stays out? Not Grigg Gold. So Grigg Gold is coming in for a box as well. There's a big wiggle behind from Trix Ross Rizzo, almost running smack bang into the rear. Now you hit your line. Now you hit your boxes. Remember, Dane Warren will be the first to hit his box. He will be up to speed faster than anybody else. Missed box for El Nabi. That will cost him massively in terms of the stopping time. A few drivers stay out. Hampstead, Ford, 4. They will stay out then and go a little bit further. Can Phil still get himself out first, or will it be Dane Warren looking to make that charge? Warren about 10 back, as he will be the first, surely, to blink and go forward. He does. Behind him, though, a driver, I believe that is going to be Wayne Burke goes forward. But look at that. Phil Sells jumped. Burton's jumped him. Downs jumped him. Jared Phil Sells got not aggressive with the fuel. The others have.
Goodness me, I was not expecting that at all. Yeah. Okay. Goodness. So Jake Burton is going to assume the effective lead of this race at the moment. I was not expecting that at all. So Dane Warren down to 4th as well, with Madison Down beating him out of the pits.
And guess what? Ethan Griggold is back in 5th position.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a shorter stop from Griggold, maybe even just getting to a number there, because he maybe was just slightly short. Come in now, get back to the number, and he's still in this event in position number 5. He could make some really scary moves. A few vehicles, though, that have the spanner in the works material. Remember Brett Loxton, because Hampstead, Ford, and Borg are all there. Ian Ford now becomes a massive factor. He needs to hold up the field to try and make sure Griggold gets a move.
Yeah, actually, very good point that you make there. So, Brian Borg, I suppose, it doesn't really matter to Ford what kind of run Borg gets out of the final turn.
Oh, he is a lap down, isn't he?
He is, and it's all about advantage Ethan at this stage. He's the one that Evolution Racing team are really banking on right now.
Well, Ethan Griggold, this is where you earn your money. This is where things start to get very interesting. As down onto the lane goes Brian Borg. Pace car comes in behind Ian Ford. We will go green flag, green flag. Big defense from Hampstead as he looks to cover off Jake Burton. Phil Sells overtaken by Griggold. They're 3 wide behind. A manic start as they head into turn number 1, the 90. Around the outside of Jake Burton tried. Ethan Griggold and the 2 title pretenders go side by side up the S's. Griggold and also Jared Phil Sell. Phil Sell gets the run through the first part. Phil Sell gets the run through the second part. Phil Sell will get the run through the third part and maintains position. Now here comes Lee Ellis.
Yes, indeed, and Ethans is going to stick right to the inside, try and defend against this double Trans-Tasman Momo train. He does it very nicely, but Phil Sell is ahead. That is what matters the most right now. Hampstead, that was a very bizarre defensive move from him off the start there.
It was, and Jordan Ross just got all out of shape as well, so a lot of worries then moving forward. I think Hampstead's trying to go all the way to the end. I think he's on keel, on strategy, on point at this stage, so that's why he'd probably defend. Burton, though, in 3rd position, has got to make moves. He's got the fresher rubber available to him. He's got to pick them off one at a time as it all stacks up still behind the driver of Ethan Griggold.
Yes, so there we go. First racing lap completed. Ethan is one position up, I believe, from his initial position before the green flag. But I tell you what, Brian Borg is slow. He's had a big incident. I'm also seeing another car stop Michael Cracknell on the back straight. What happened?
That's a big one, and that's pulled off just off of the racing circuit. They go past it. I have no idea what's happened. Brian Borg, very slow, will look to get out of the way. We stay green for now, though, behind Ian Ford in the Holden, leading the event. Everyone is deemed safe. We continue going out there here on circuit. So Ford from Hampstead, Burton, Phil Sell, Griggold. The way that things stand, Dane Warren really lost out on that restart, though. He's now back behind Madison Down in what is position number 8. And Madison Down so far this season has been the kryptonite to the Dane Warren charge.
He certainly has, and I would love to see how that turns out here at Watkins Glen. It looks like Warren has a little bit of a better run than Madison out of the final turn, but Down is going defensive pretty much right away. So they're going side by side now into turn 1, and Warren just backs off a little bit, tries to go for that over-under. That's what he's trying to do here.
And Phil Sell tried to go around the outside of Jake Burton. That didn't work because Burton thought about Hampstead. It didn't work. Hampstead has always proven to be a pickle. Remember the history between Hampstead and Burton. Hampstead will never want to let Jake Burton have any position for free. That much you can guarantee at this situation as they make the breaks for the chicane on lap 44 of 64. 20 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line, and everything in the hands of Ian Ford at the moment, trying to bring Ethan Griggold back into the game as he's on the rear of Phil Sell in 5th position.
Yes, indeed. And if there's anything that can be said about Richard Hampstead other than his skill, it's that he is one of the staunchest defenders in the entire field.
Here we go.
Have a look. He's on the attack, though. Ian Ford going wide, and Hampstead is going to go through. Will Ian try and defend here? He's going to try and attack once again, maybe. Hampstead, a little bit of contact, and there we go. That has really not done well for Hampstead, and as the field scrambles to get around him, Burton now has the run on Ian Ford. So Hampstead really not in a good position right now. He's right in the middle of a pack of cars that he had no idea would be... Wow, Burton's through.
And I think I've heard an engine. That's Brady Myers. Brady's engine's gone on the outside of turn number 1. That's a scary place to have an engine go. I wonder if we will get a caution for that because it's not up against the fence. We stay green for now, side by side. Burt going at it then with Dane Warren, as now it's Phil Sell down to the inside with Ian Ford holding off the fence. Burton is through. Griggold still there in 4th position. Hampstead back to 5th, and that is still a big, big train that we're looking at.
Yes, indeed, and Dane Warren has lost a spot to Riley Blythe and is starting to come under a bit of pressure from Wayne Burke. Emily Jones in the background, having a look at all of this go down. Richard Hampstead versus Lee Ellis now coming into the second last
and
turn.
Phil Sell.
Oh, yes. There we go. Phil Sell attacking Ian Ford. Oh.
And Ford just holding on the defence here. Burton is able to run away at this stage.
Big slide in the background, sorry. Dane Warren.
And Dane Warren is really pushing almost too hard. They now almost force it 3 wide. Jones in the mix as well. Caution comes out, though, and that will bunch it again.
What for?
Look further back, and you will soon find the reason why a caution exists. So another one comes into view, but where we do not know at the moment.
Myers. Yeah, Myers,
the Myers
was still
vehicle.
there, yes.
Yeah, that's fair play. So Brady Myers, the engine gone. I think they didn't clock it the first time. I think they had to clock it the second time round. So Brady Myers is out of the event. The caution comes out, the 6th caution of the day. And with just 20-odd laps to go and under, this now sets things up perfectly. Burton's through. He can coordinate the start. Now, this is perfect, actually, for Trans-Tasman Race. They can coordinate the start to get Phil Sell past Ford.
They certainly can, but I think ERT will be on to TTR's games here. We've already seen that there's been a bit of strategic driving on the part of Ian Ford to try and give Ethan Griggold the advantage. They'll be looking at these TTR cars to try and match when they go as quick as possible.
Yeah, and well, everything seems to be the case. Everything seems to be about hold yourself and keep yourself calm. And actually right now, championship points. This is where you start thinking about the championship and cautions like these here, Reese. Because you then go, okay, do I want to win this race? Or do I want to just finish ahead of my rivals? That's what Jared Phil Sell has to contemplate here. I could go for the win, or could I go for the championship points? And I think Jared Phil Sell knows better than anybody the points come first.
They certainly do, and you know, if he wants to try and attack for the lead, he can't do it too soon, because there's always the chance that the rival might draft back and get the position back from you. So he wants to wait until the last possible moment to make one of those moves for the lead if he decides to go for it.
If and when. So Jake Burton leads, Ian Ford in 2nd, Phil Sell 3rd, Griggold in 4th position. It's Hampstead in 5th, Lee Ellis in 6th, 7th is Madison Down, 8th is Riley Blythe, 9th is Dane Warren, and Emily Jones rounds out the top 10. Riley Blythe started 21st in this event. He's inside the top 8, and he's got one goal: keep Down and Ellis occupied, because you don't want even more fuel to be added to the ERT Trans-Tasman battle.
Oh, you certainly don't. I think that's what it's basically going to come down to with the way these pit stops have shuffled around. Who has got their fuel down pat? I can't wait to find out.
lap 48 we're looking to go on to, and next time by, the pace car's lights on the roof iRacing first safety car will go off. So for Jake Burton, he has the lead of this one. That's the important factor. Nobody has been able to get themselves a run that has worked them out in the way that they have wanted to. So by all accounts, it is about get yourself home. We have seen a lot of retirements here today. More retirements than normal, but it's a higher caution rate than normal because of the circuit that we're at, Watkins Glen. We could love it to be nice and safe. We currently have 27 vehicles on the leading lap, going all the way back to the 040 of Todd Park. So right now, it is try and make your money. Make sure that you get everything working in your favor. Lights are off of the pace car, Reese. It's now Jake Burton's race to lose and Jared Filsell's championship to seize.
It certainly is, and these last little phases of the race are the ones where it really all counts. You can see Jake Burton has a little bit of damage on the front. That might affect his straight line speed a bit. You got to think, how aggressive does Jared Filsell want to be? How aggressively defensive does Ian Ford want to be? Ethan Griggault still has a chance here.
Ethan Griggault has more than a chance, but he's got to get past the two-time reigning champion and championship leader, Jared Filsell. He's got to get past his teammate, which is the easy bit, and he's got to get past the Toyota 86 driver of Jake Burton. That is a very esteemed field that he has got to try and get past. He's got Richard Hampstead behind, who will battle at every given point, and he has a whole hungry field looking to try and get some positions, get some vital points as we head to Oran Park at the start of next month in June to end the month of May. Trademark. Big wide line then from Ian Ford. He's trying to just slow things down on that outside. Just give it a coast, get in the mirrors there of Jake Burton. Reese, what are you expecting off the start?
I'm expecting the TTR cars to get a bit of a jump and all go at exactly the same time because, hey, that's been proven, demonstrably true, that's what they do off the starts here. They are coordinating the hell out of it. It's up to ERT to try and anticipate that. So as we come up to the penultimate turn, Jake Burton giving a bit of a gap to the safety car as we speak. It's almost time for green flag once again.
The pace car gets the gap as it heads through turn 8 at Watkins Glen's Cup layout, 3.91 kilometers of track. And now through the final corner, pace car dives down onto the lane, and Burton goes incredibly quickly. Ford is caught out as we thought he would be, and now Filsell's got the inside for the 90. Exactly what is needed in the situation for Filsell. Ford's going to give him no room on that inside, and now it's going to be about can Griggault just pick the nose. He can't get himself through at the moment. He gets Ian Ford. There's the crucial move. He's now got to get a big move of Jared Filsell. That's not going to work. Burton was perfect off of that start. He got everybody.
Yeah, that honestly, that from Jake Burton is some of the best anticipatory driving I've ever seen from him. As they fan out in the background, Richard Hampstead looking to pass Ian Ford now as Lee Ellis and Madison down. They're basically tripping over each other right now, trying to find some space. Have a look behind them as well. Emily Jones versus Wayne Burke. But up front, Jake Burton with a big gap over Filsell, and Ethan Griggault. It looks like his hopes of winning this race are starting to chip away bit by bit.
Well, he's got through, but he's got to stay within a second of Jared Filsell. Maybe he's struggling in this late stage. Maybe he still has to hit a number. Maybe he's not quite safe enough as he heads to the right-hander at turn number 8. Filsell with enough of a gap at the moment to keep Griggault at bay as he leads the train behind. Dane Warren wants to get past Riley Blythe. Blythe will go defensive here into turn number 1 and almost turn it into a semi-attack on Madison Down, but that won't be forthcoming. Dane Warren wants to get moving. He wants positions as he had a DNF at Phillip Island, as he wants to go to Oran Park in June and have an opportunity to go out there and race. Riley Blythe at the moment defending for his life.
He certainly is. Dane Warren really wants this. You know, both these drivers want something out of this race. Riley Blythe with an incredible run from 21st to current 8th. Dane Warren, he started from, in 12th, and now he's running in 9th. He was running as high as 3rd at one point during the race. He wants to get close to that. As high as 2nd, sorry. Yes, you're right, but goodness me, who is going to come out the best here? Warren, it seems, has the better of Blythe in terms of raw pace, but Blythe's defense is really strong right now.
And it is side by side, Scott Larnock versus Jason Hyde. Hyde gets the position away from Scott Larnock. He defends it for the moment. Big sideways slide, holds it together. Does he? Just about, just avoids Ross Rizzo there. That was scary. Jason Hyde, take a bow. That's a great save.
Yep, well held once again. That was really good. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead is really... Whoa, goodness me, where on earth did Phil Sell come from? Jake Burton is having to really defend from him now. What happened?
109.5, Jared Filsell, 110 flat, Jake Burton, half a second on that last lap, and has broken the draft to Ethan Griggold. So they're working to get away. Burton wants to fight for the win. Filsell not in a position to make that move. I wonder if Multi-21 comes into the thought process. I wouldn't think it would at the moment, but Ethan Griggold has got to get back within a second. It's his only shot of beating Filsell.
It certainly is. Ethan needs to be driving the wheels off that ERT Commodore, and he almost drives it straight off the circuit coming out of the carousel. Whoa. So Ethan and Ian currently running 3rd and 4th. They want to be able to catch up to Burton and Filsell. And in terms of the Sorry?
There's contact. That's Emily Jones and Wayne Burt coming together at turn 7. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Through down the inside comes Corey Preston, looking for opportunities, and Emily Jones maybe giving a little bit more room there to Corey Preston, maybe understanding that Corey Preston likes taking a lot of road, as now just in front of them.
There we go.
Big contact. Around also goes another drive. That's Wayne Burke into the middle of the road, and now big worries. Burke trying to get going again, and they just get themselves fanned out. It stays good, but the big ones happen just in front of them. Preston, Sasowski, and Jones all involved. Caution comes out.
Oh, goodness me. And who is that? Thomas McMillan involved in that as well. Goodness me. Oh my God. So there we go.
And that all started with the incident with Wayne Burke. Burke getting turned around by Preston. Preston slow, and that was Emily Jones coming back onto circuit, and it was a 2-into-1 because Hobson was trying to go for the racing line into that section, just didn't see Jones coming out of the corner of the vision, and there was the contact needed. That, for Emily Jones, will be a shame. For Brenton Hobson, he is a lucky lad, but the stewards may talk.
Yeah, certainly. And, you know, reviewing what Jones was doing out of there, you know, the re-entry I can understand because she didn't want to get onto the grass, but it looked like coming back onto the circuit, it looked like a bit of an acute angle to try and come back to the circuit on.
Yeah, you can still see the Corey Preston machine, which is lodged pretty much spread eagle sideways, as they will all have to fan down to the inside. This is how the field now looks. Jared Filsell's in 2nd, but Jake Burton leads this one from Filsell. Greg Galt in 3rd, now gets the gap back. Ian Ford in 4th, Richard Hamstead in 5th. Then it's Ellis, Down, Warren, Riley Blythe, and Brenton Hobson now inside the top 10. Jake Blackhall is in 11th position, but a lot of vehicles then really struggle to get through that one. A long way behind. It's the likes of Kananzi, Hyde, Zaslowski heavily damaged. That was about half of the rear of the field all getting involved in that one there, Reese. That is what you call the big one.
It certainly is. 100% the big one. And as you said, it all... If Preston had not locked his brakes into turn 1 and gotten into Wayne Burke, that may not have happened. Goodness. It just goes to show that there are the smallest mistakes that can make the biggest impact on a race.
Smallest mistakes have the biggest of consequences. And now, all that matters is the time that's ticking down. It's 11 laps to go then when they cross the line. 10 to go when they next get there. So big complications for this. It now has to be some big, bold driving, some big moves from Ethan Griggold, and he has got to be reactive to Jared Filsell and Jake Burton. The good news is that it's 2 to react to and not 1. That makes life slightly easier for Ethan Griggold.
Yeah, it definitely does. So they will have one more lap before they go green once again. I tell you what, oh man, I think we're only just getting started. We still have the most incredible action of this race still to come. They're going to have 11 laps to go now as they cross the line.
Forzan El Nabi pits, then he's short on fuel. He's maybe got damage, so he dives down onto the lane, and that's going to cost him his race. Zaslowski, no shocks, comes down onto the lane. Wayne Burke dives down onto the lane as well. He had damage from the spin that started everything off. His contact with Corey Preston. But right now, we will have 10 laps left to go at Watkins Glen. We've had 7 cautions. We've had some great overtakes, some great battles, and we've had some pretty hefty bits of contact as well. For now, though, it's about one thing. It is ERT versus Trans-Tasman, and right now it's Tasman 1-2, ERT 3-4.
It is, and both of the teams will want to be playing that tandem drafting game. That is what's going to define this race. It's how well they can work with each other to try and draft together, try and get the best amount of pace in these final stages of the race. This is where it could all come undone for either of those teams. And just briefly, I can confirm that El Nabi was pitting for damage. He was also involved in the Preston crash.
Not surprised there in that situation. In fact, Forzan El Nabi is out of the event. Forzan El Nabi's day is done. So Forzan El Nabi, another disappointing result after some very good pace. El Nabi seemingly cannot find himself a way to bring the result home. But sometimes it's not about how quick you are, but your ability to finish. And those who can finish here today have that ability to go out there and get some strong results. The likes of Jason Hyde started 32nd. He's up to 14th. The likes of Ross Rizzo, 33rd to 15th. The likes of Scott Larnock, 35th, all the way to 16th position. Jake Blackhall, 25th to 11th. Riley Blythe, 21st to 9th position. But right now, it's about 3rd to 1st for Jake Burton. He gives the gap once again then to the pace car, who will round the final corner and has arguably led the most laps here today, leading its 28th lap of the event of 54. Round the final corner, Burton goes early once again, and that was a good response this time from Ethan Griggold in 3rd position. Green flag flies. 10 laps to go at Watkins Glen. Hampstead goes defensive then against Lee Ellis in towards turn number 1. Ellis will go to the outside. Hampstead will give him no room at all. Cuts the nose off on the exit. Now it's Ellis who's going to be under pressure from Madison Down and Dane Warren.
Yes, indeed. It's really closing up in 5th to 10th at the moment. That top 3 are breaking away. Ethan Griggold did exactly what he needed to do on that restart. He is within draft range of Filsell and Burton. You can see Filsell weaving in a straight line, I think just letting Jake Burton know that he's there. As they come into the bus stop for the 55th time, Ellis and Down really facing pressure from Warren, but look at Riley Blythe as well. He's right in this.
Yeah, Riley Blythe wants that opportunity. He wants to go out there and take some positions. He knows he could maybe get a couple more if he's just sly, and he can just steal 1 or 2 more opportunities. At the front, though, Jared Filsell wants to get past teammate Burton, put a bit of daylight between himself and Ethan Griggold, who's just been sitting in the wings, maybe struggling on the overall pace late on in this one. Defensive line taken then from Jake Burton. There's no team orders. He throws him. Big wiggle, though, from Jared Filsell. He'll have to take the uber wide line. Here comes Ethan Griggold, and he's not going to get the chance yet. He may get the chance then to the chicane at turn number 4, the bus stop, but no. That was scary for Filsell. That's Burton going for the win. No team orders. Team orders my ass.
Yes, certainly, man. That is 100% right. Jake Burton gave Filsell basically a car width, but still, Filsell just went onto the grass a little bit too much going for that maneuver. So away he went.
That's Stenberg getting caught by Hobson through the chicane. He gets away with it, though. No contact with any barrier. But that's 7, 8 positions. And Hobson, for the second time in about 5 laps, has been involved in an incident.
Yeah, not too good from Hobson's end, but Stenberg has still managed to get going nicely. He's defending from Wayne Burke at the moment. So still all well and good in Stenny land now that he's able to get going again.
And I think the difference we're seeing at the front is the fact that I don't think that Ethan Griggold took tyres on his last stop. I think that he only took the fuel. His tyres are older. He's struggling to stay with Jared Filsell, and that will have to be a look at what happened when, as now still Hampstead, Ellis, Down, Warren, this one for the lower reaches of the top 10. On lap 57, vehicles stricken on the side of the road. That's Thomas McMillan still, who is there on the side 3 laps down. So what has happened to McMillan? He's still there. He should be in a safe place. He should be able to get himself away. But look at the defence now from Lee Ellis on Madison Down. He wants his best result of his own.
Yeah, he certainly does. Once again, Lee Ellis going fantastic in this race, fighting for a top 5 position in amongst Richard Hampstead and Madison Down. Looks to me like Hampstead got the better of them on the exit of the carousel there. And meanwhile, up ahead, Ethan Griggold is continuing to fall back from Jared Filsell. Thomas McMillan has had his escape request approved, so we're going to stay green.
We are staying green for the moment, though, with 8 laps to go at Watkins Glen. Jake Burton leads this one just for the moment. Hampstead still holding on to position number 5. But behind all of this, it's starting to get a little bit stringent side by side. I think there's a redress coming from Brenton Hobson. He's going to let Stenberg back through and have the position up the S's. And Madison Down now starting to attack. And side by side he goes. He looks for the opportunity. They close up. Dane Warren gets a big wiggle. They hold it together somehow. This is racing. 3 wide, let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Riley Blythe all the way on the right-hand side of the circuit. Dane Warren, the latest under brakes there, fighting the car, going across the curb, and on the grass, contact once again. Both Ellis and Warren side by side. Have a look at Riley Blythe. He gets through Ellis around. Oh my goodness, that was fantastic. Not for Lee Ellis.
And Ellis is able to keep it going, though. We stay green. We stay green at Watkins Glen. We keep things going at the front of the field. Filsell now needs to bide his time. Burton is going to defend this. He's got a chance at a race victory. He's not going to give it away to Jared Filsell. Not the same way that he gave away second position last time out at Phillip Island with poor fuel management. So now Jake Burton's got to work out, can I bring this one to the end? The answer at the moment is 0.2 of a second, splitting them, and 1.2 back right now to Ethan Griggold, making a battle over 2, not a battle over 4 or 5. So now up the hill, through the S's section once again. Filsell may be looking for the one opportunity that's going to be the magic move that gets into position number 1 with 6 laps to go in the event. 5.5 now, no chance of the move.
No, certainly not. And you know what? This is a big statement from Jake Burton. It started with that defensive move, and it's continuing with his driving over these last couple of laps. He doesn't care about Filsell's championship lead. He cares about getting a race win, and it's that kind of drama that we really need in this series. It's fantastic to see this kind of fight between 2 technical teammates. But Filsell, you know, he's had the measure of many people over the course of the season. Will he have the measure of Jake Burton coming down into turn 1? He's got the draft. Burton going defensive once again. Oh, have a look at that. Moving in, yeah.
He's trying. He's definitely trying. He may just pick up the run. The gap under 2/10 now. Jake Burton's got to go defensive. He's got to think, Jared Filsell's got the number on me. I've got to now defend for my life. 5 to go here at Watkins Glen. Rounding turn number 4. Here's the opportunity knocking for Jared Filsell. Is there a defensive line taken? Oh, yes. You bet there is. You've got to go the long way, Jared, against Jake Burton. And he's not going to get a chance to make the move into the chicane just yet. But he's now probing. He's now knowing as behind Dane Warren attacks Riley Blythe. Blythe is through up into 7th position.
Excellent stuff once again from Riley Blythe. He's got a great run there going, but Dane Warren, I don't think, will be too happy with that. Meanwhile, behind them, Blackhall and Harvey fighting hard for the last 2 positions in the top 10. But this battle for the lead is certainly where it's at the moment. Look at Phil Sell's run out of the second last turn.
Oh, he's trying. He gets a lot of curb, though, on the exit of the final corner. That's going to mean that he's going to have to be careful now on the runs to 1 and 2. 4 laps to go at Watkins Glen. 12 kilometers remain into turn number 1, and Phil Sell setting up the run once more. He was even slightly slower on that last lap by 100th of a second as they go up the hill. Will he be able to attack again on the driver of Jake Burton? I wonder if. And now again, you'll see Burton probably make that defensive move. No, not this time. He thinks he's got enough of a run. He does this time, though. So Phil Sell, he's got to probe. He's got to find it. Side by side, still Blythe and Warren just behind. And Warren is still going to try the outside line and is going to hold it just for the moment. Great move.
Oh, incredible stuff there, Dane. And Riley has now been backed into Jake Blackhall and Luke Harvey. So he's going to have to start that work all over again. So at opposite ends of the top 10, we've got really interesting battles starting to form here.
And Hampstead's closing in on Ford and Greg Galt. Ford will not want to get past Greg Galt. Brenton O'Brien will make sure of that. But right now, Richard Hampstead knows that he wants to just take positions away. He just wants to make life a nuisance here in this field. He just wants to race for the points, for the chance of it. Again, Jared Philsell, 3 laps to go now at Watkins Glen. 9 kilometers now remain. Now it's about Jared Philsell. Can I still make this move? Again, he lost a little bit of time on that last lap, but he's getting a very good S's run, and he's just unable to stave that into the third part of this. Defensive, surely it has to be now from Jake Burton. It is, and again, Philsell's going to have to go the long way around. Will he commit this time? Still, he won't commit. Still, he wants the decisive move, and soon he'll have to be chasing down pavement to try and get a chance.
Yeah, and you know what? This defending from Jake Burton, I think, is sort of borderline against the rules, because I noticed a couple of times he was moving under brakes, moving in the braking zone, and squeezing Philsell a little bit. I don't know what the rulebook situation is on that, but I tell you what, if he's willing to go this far in defense, think about how much he wants this win.
Oh, you can see Philsell attacking the second to last corner, attacking the last corner. He's now taking on orthodox attacks at the driver of Jake Burton. The more they defend, the more they'll bring Greg Galt back into it. Heavy defense to the 90, turn number 1. Is this the chance that Philsell gets to prise open the door through turn 1? No, it's not. Big hold, and now they're nose to tail, almost pushing each other. And again, a big block from the driver of Jake Burton. He's doing everything in his willpower just to keep behind the driver of Jared Philsell. All of this brings Ethan Greg Galt back into this, but they still somehow keep extending the gap. Still, there is room for Philsell with 2 to go, Reese.
There certainly is. Philsell, you're right, he's biding his time. If he wants to go for a decisive move, it has to be on the last lap, because it's easy enough for Burton to try and just draft him back again. We've been saying that a few times in this race. Tell you what, I can see this ending one of 2 ways, cleanly or not. And if it doesn't end cleanly, then it's going to be advantage ERT here.
Well, is there going to be a rift in the divide? Big wiggle, they almost make contact. White flag at Watkins Glen. One final lap here at the circuit. And now it's about Jake Burton. Can I hold on? 4 more kilometers. A big contact. They touch, and they hold it together somehow. There's damage on Burton's machine. And now Jared Philsell faces a chance of the stewards getting involved in this one. Greg Galt keeps closing down that door. That was not what they wanted to see happen. Philsell getting frustrated, and now up the S's. Has he thrown away the greatest chance possible at taking a race victory? They make the run to the S's. The bus stop chicane, and it's not close enough just yet. For Philsell, he has one chance, and that's the penultimate corner. Get a good carousel. He sees the damaged boot of the vehicle of Jake Burton's Trans-Tasman machine. He knows that it's not going to be Ethan Greg Galt just yet. But now, Jake Burton is 2 corners away from victory, and Jared Philsell maybe threw away the victory shot at turn number 1 into the penultimate corner. No, last chance lunge at the final corner. Big defensive line taken. Pick up the run to the exit. It's now a drag race between the pair of them, but Burton's got the advantage. Burton holds on. Burton wins at Watkins Glen with a storming defensive drive that arguably goes down in history as one of the great performances in V8SCOPS history.
Tell you what, the stewards will be looking at that a few times. I mean, like, certainly in terms of action, in terms of spectacle, that is one for the history books. But some of the moves that Jake Burton made, I don't know. It's I'm stroking my beard here, just thinking, oh, is that in the rules book? But still, at the end of the day, he crossed the line in first place, and what a way to take your first win.
And that is a first win. What a first win it comes down to as well. Classified results then from Watkins Glen. I thought it would be a classic. I am so happy it was. Jake Burton wins by less than 1/10 of a second over the line. He worked hard for that victory. Take nothing away from it. Phil Sell gave him everything. He even threw the kitchen sink in, and the kitchen sink did not work. Phil Sell was beaten hands down here today. Ethan Griggold comes home third. A stunning drive with some stunning strategy involved in the middle as well, with Ian Ford coming home in 4th position. Richard Hampstead comes home 5th after a great drive with Madison down 6th. Dane Warren made great positions in 7th. Riley Blythe and Jake Blackwell 8th and 9th. They deserve some really good credit for their runs through the field. And Luke Harvey makes it 10.
In 11th place at the end of it, Ross Rizzo, another really good drive to 11th place. 12th, Jason Hyde, and 13th, David Moore. 4th, Kurt Stenberg. 14th, sorry, Kurt Stenberg with Wayne Burke in 15th. 16th place, Jordan Ross, and 17th, Todd Parks. Bruce Kiley comes home in 18th. Lee Ellis coming home in 19th. Something happened to him in the last few laps. So, yeah, of course, a spin, and Brenton Hobson rounding out the top 20.
And then you see those further down, Scott Zaslowski and Scott Larnock, then the last two to finish, 22 of 40, get it to the line here. Those who failed to finish, Emily Jones, Forzan El-Nabi, Brett Cananzi, Thomas McMillan fails to finish, Corey Preston getting involved in the big one, Brady Myers, Kyle James, you look in there, failing to finish, as well as Michael Taliancic.
Yeah, and rounding out the field, Michael Cracknell, Brian Borg, Daniel Williams, Zach Hanlon, Mitchell Cialak, Ethan Warren, Brett Loxton, Glenn Postlethwaite, Warren Pickering, Scott Nolan, and Sam Blacklock, our unfortunate first casualty of this race. And what a race it was. I tell you what, I think that the way Burton took that victory could be debated by some people who are looking for the letter of the rules book in terms of moving in the braking zone, but nonetheless, it was one of the greatest shows we've ever seen.
It was a fantastic show, and we're just going to calm down after that one. We're going to step aside for a moment. When we come back, post-race show coverage from Watkins Glen. This has been a truly memorable event.
racing. You wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
The future was bulletproof. The aftermath was secondary. And well, they did it loud, and they did it now, and the Killjoys made their noise. But what could be said from a classic at Watkins Glen? A stunning race. Minute 1 to last. Yes, you can argue there were a lot of cautions, but didn't that add to the spectacle of trying to get it home? A brilliant battle at the end. Race winner, first time race winner, Jake Burton. You couldn't ask for many more difficult circumstances than that. Is that a testament to your character, the way you had to hold off Jared Filsell today?
Character, I'm not sure about that. It was, honestly, I was just taking it corner by corner. I knew if I had draft on Jared, I'd be able to keep up with him, but I couldn't bring him in and pass him, which basically meant that Jared with my draft was unstoppable. So he just had mega pace, just focused corner by corner, getting a good exit. And then when he towed me in the draft, trying to defend when we got to the corners to the best of my ability. And yeah, massive thanks to Jared for giving us the room. In my eyes, he's probably the best in Australia in terms of V8 supercars, if not the world. So yeah, it was a real pleasure to race with him. And yeah, just a little bit elated at the moment. Not really sure what to say.
Not really sure what to say, but I'll take you back a little bit because you've had to work hard throughout the entirety of the restarts. A lot of cautions here today. How difficult is it to coordinate the restarts and look to try and get the jump on drivers?
It's tough. Yeah, the earlier ones where you're not racing teammates, it's a little bit easier. But the 2 restarts that I had to do, I pretty much muted my mic and gave none of my teammates any hint as to what I was doing. So yeah, it was tough work. I basically went with the strategy of put the foot down as early as possible, try and get a little bit of a gap, and that'll, for want of a better word, prolong the inevitable with Jared coming. And I had hopes that Ethan might show a nose and maybe just allow me to get that little bit of a breakaway, which I think happened with a few to go. But then once Jared got to me, it was really, really tough to keep him behind, and it was all just down to that corner by corner, like I said.
Well, you're getting yourself down corner by corner, but a victory it is at Watkins Glen. Sydney 250 coming up at the end of the month, start of June. You're looking at Oran Park thinking, okay, it doesn't technically exist, but it will forever exist in terms of our hearts. Do you feel that Oran Park is going to be a much more difficult challenge, especially with the nature of how difficult it is to overtake?
Yeah, definitely. Oran Park's always been one of my favourites. I've always not run too well at Watkins Glen. I think I just got a little bit lucky with the safety cars and my track position tonight. But yeah, Oran Park will be a new challenge for sure. Completely different kind of track to the last two we've been to. But yeah, it's generally been a decent track for me.
Well, it's been decent for you, but this has been sensational in terms of your racing acumen. A first ever race victory. Shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Yeah, just massive thanks to all the guys at TTR, first and foremost, Brock and everyone else who helped develop the setups and stuff this week. Gave me a car that I could fight with at the end, even though I didn't quite have the driver pace that Jared had. So massive thanks to all those guys, and really happy to have finally brought one home for them after so many close calls. And then, yeah, of course, our team sponsors in Fuel Auto Tech, Momo, all those guys for all their fantastic work. So huge thanks.
Jake Burton taking a race victory, a deserved race victory at that. Reese, though, is standing by with the man who finished second, and it's the championship leader.
Certainly, Jared Philsell, welcome to the commentary box once again. Well, you started on pole, finished in second, and that battle to end the race, I think, was a battle for the ages. But what was it like from your perspective, especially with those very spirited defensive moves from Jake?
Yeah. Deep down, probably annoyed at Jake, but from the other point of view, definitely understand why. So no hard feelings there. Just got to come to expect it from a guy that's really hungry for his first win and has been so close so many times. But no, pretty much taking it easy behind him. Trying to pick my point. I was really studying him for like 10 laps, finding out where he was really weak. Obviously, that seemed like it was turn one. So I really just had to wait until he made a mistake and until I really got a good run. But he had it all covered. But I never thought leading majority of the race would bring me unstuck because all the guys behind were saving minuscule fuel in the draft, so hence my longer pit stops than the other guys. But it's racing.
Yeah, it certainly is, especially racing at Watkins Glen. Well, I suppose looking at the amount of cautions in this event, I mean, you were far away from a lot of the carnage that happened in this race, but do you think that that the driving standards, particularly at Watkins Glen, need to be looked at?
I haven't seen any crashes. The safety car periods were quite a lot, almost worse than a C-fixed race I mentioned before. But no, I think all of them were understandable from where we could see the cars stopped on track. So when they hold them for a long time, and then when you actually get to drive past and see where they stopped, so they were all warranted in my opinion. But I think it's just Watkins Glen in general. It's just such close racing, and you really can't put a move on someone unless you've got a superior car set up, because you just lose so much in the draft through the corner, but then you bring it back. So, and you got these half-hearted moves, which could probably end in safety cars, as we saw tonight.
Indeed. Well, next round, Sydney 250, Oran Park. Basically the polar opposite of Watkins Glen in terms of layout. You still maintain the championship lead, but you've been winless for 2 races in a row. Will Oran Park be a bit of a change in form?
Winless for 2 races isn't too bad when you finish second in both. Who knows, really? Had a really good start to the season, obviously, but got to be consistent, don't you? So just getting results is my focus at the moment. I don't really care where I finish, just as long as I finish in front of the next person below me on the championship standings.
Very interesting points made there for sure, Jared. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We will talk to you at Oran Park.
Can I just give a quick shout out to my lovely sponsors? I'll thank Bryce Washington for jumping in tonight. A bit of a rookie on the spotting, so he lobbed in tonight. And was very helpful. I'll thank HRS as well for being on the side of the car this year. Brett does an amazing job. Stunning sim gear, so if you ever want to get some of that, check him out. And I'll thank Brock for the shock tune and Jake for the setup this week.
Excellent stuff, Jared. Thank you very much for joining us, Jake. Third place finisher, Ethan Griggold.
Yes, he is third place. And I will say, yes, I did do that. No, I didn't really. But Ethan Griggold, let's talk about the tyres first and foremost. Did you just have not enough tyre life to attack Jared and Jake at the end?
Well, at the end, I was actually suffering a bit of left front panel damage from a bit of contact with Hampstead before, as you probably saw. But yeah, I was just down on probably about 2 to 3 Ks an hour down on straight line. And as soon as Phil Sell drove up out of my draft, I was just trying to keep the guys behind me. So
that's the way it sometimes goes. You put yourself in a situation though where you were right back down the field in the sort of the early 20s in terms of position. Do you feel that having to work really hard during that sort of stint, that 12-lap green flag run, do you feel that it put you in a situation where you had to go out there and start making moves?
Honestly, when I got the slowdown, drop back through the field, I really thought that my result was just completely gone at that time. So yeah, I was just trying to fight through as much as possible. Wasn't really. I'd put some moves on a bit more aggressive than I normally would, knowing that this track is so ridiculously hard to pass at. But yeah, with some awesome, just ridiculous strategy from Brenton and Ian, we got straight back up the front again with the 3-stop with the short stop at the end there.
Well, you got yourself the short stop. You made the 3-stop work to your favour. So for you, it is still points lost. But do you feel that you still come out of Watkins Glen with a victory heading to Oran Park?
Based on where I was 20th in the race, then to come back and finish on the podium, I'm just completely speechless. I have no idea how he got back there again. It's a little bit of luck in my opinion, but yeah, just some awesome strategy from the guys over at ERT. I can't thank them enough.
No worries at all. Shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Yeah, I just like to shout out all the guys at ERT for their awesome support. The guys at Logitech G, Modem Simulations, and Joel Real Timing.
No worries at all. Ethan Griggold coming home into position. And his teammate Reese also had a very good run of things today. It's Ian Ford in a Holden.
Yes, indeed. Ian Ford in a Holden. So, Ian, a 4th place finish here at Watkins Glen. I suppose, like in terms of the racing, you were really in the thick of it.
Oh, I reckon it's like when I wasn't overtaking someone, I was getting threatened to be overtaken just after a mistake early on. But yeah, it's like I do choose the Holden due to the fact it has an awesome entertainment system. So that was really good the amount of times I pitted today. But yeah, to see myself in 4th and to make sure that Ethan got a podium, that's bloody good.
Yeah, and of course, and off the restarts, I did notice that there was a little bit of strategizing to try and get Ethan further up, particularly towards the end. Was that completely premeditated or a happy coincidence?
It's only after that second last restart where I actually jumped to the front of the field. I was still probably about 3 litres shy of making the finish, so I was having to try and really, I don't know, choose where I was fast just to make sure I wasn't getting overtaken, but also trying to actually make the end. Just with the amount of safety cars we had, I didn't know whether or not another one was coming, so I was just trying to double check and make sure that everything, like all the boxes were ticked in case of the worst case.
Well, Oran Park next round. Are we going to see you there?
Depending on when it is, hopefully. It's like I love Oran Park. It's like don't know what the format is, but it's like certainly love driving it. If I can get there, I'll get there. It's like everyone threw their weight behind our car this week, and it obviously paid off. And with 4 cars in the top 10, so hopefully we can all throw our weight behind Oran Park. It's some people hate it, some people love it. It's definitely going to be one of the hard ones for the year, just for the fact that you are concentrating and like basically driving your butt off all race long. So if I do make it, hopefully we can sort of end up in the same sort of position. But if not, it's like I'll definitely be there. Giving Ethan some talking to.
Of course. Any shout outs you'd like to give?
Just everyone that tweaked the setup this week. Definitely Crackers, Ethan, and Brenton for helping out tonight. it's like it definitely helped with our result. Sort of basically cemented how much pace we had for the week. Other than that, just Logitech G, modem simulations, and gel real timing, and obviously everyone that puts in time and effort to make this happen.
So that was Ian Ford, your fourth place finisher, Jake. And it looks like we do have one more driver represented here, Richard Hamstead in fifth.
Yes, we do. Richard, TTL, in terms of a team, seemingly have dropped off with their member count. We haven't seen Jake Maloney for a little while. Of course, we all know and heavily document what's happening with Josh Rogers at the moment. Do you feel that TTL needs to make some signings to sort of bolster their SCOPS lineup?
Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't say, I think it would probably help at this stage, and there may well be things already in the works on that front. So, but at the same time, there are a couple of drivers who are only out because of hardware issues, and they'll be back very shortly, hopefully. So, so I think moving forward, you'll see quite a few more TTL cars in the field.
Well, that will certainly be very useful. But let's talk about your race, because you're up there towards the front, really having some heavy battles to and from the field. But the incident with Ethan Griggold, let's talk about that for a bit.
Yeah, that was interesting. I can't remember who I was side by side with, but I was on the inside of someone. I think it was a Momo car. I really can't remember, but I was on the outside. I don't know. I was somewhere. But yeah, anyway, so I was alongside him and trying to outbrake him into the bus stop, and then I just saw him out of the corner of my eye, an ERT car, and I just didn't have quite enough time to take evasive action, and we made a bit of contact. But it's all good. We both were able to repair our cars and get back up front, probably thanks to safety cars. So yeah, it was just a racing incident, I guess.
Well, sometimes that's the way it is, but you're heading towards Oran Park then in about 3 weeks' time. You're looking for opportunities. You're looking for maybe some good points hauls. Do you feel that you have met your expectations that you wanted to hit at the start of the season?
Probably not. I would have liked to have a bit of a cleaner start of the season for sure. Tonight was okay. I think, honestly, we only had the pace for the position we got, maybe not even that. But the competition is super strong at the moment. Like, you got Jake, he's just won his first race. The two ERT guys have really stepped up, the PSS guys, and then you've got Jared and Mad as strong as ever. So it's just a super competitive series at the moment. So it's hard to even get on the podium.
It certainly is. So before we let you go, any shout outs or sponsors for TTL?
Yep, big thanks to Hyper Simulator. They have been our sponsor for quite a few years now. Curse Design Labs, who did an awesome job painting our skin, which I think is one of the best in the field. And also Down Under Graphics, who are awesome partner. Just wanted to say also, on another note, big thanks to Josh Rogers and Matt Trotman. Rogers did an awesome job with the setup this week. He really probably turned it into a competitive setup, like early in the week. I don't think we would have been in the top 10. So he did a really good job on that, and spotting as well. He and Trotman did a great job spotting tonight and made a really good call to pit just before the safety car came out, which put me into second behind Ian. So big thanks to those guys.
No worries at all. Richard Hamstead coming home in position number 5. But Reese, final thoughts as we head away from upstate New York, as we head to the Sydney 250.
Well, this race had basically everything, didn't it? It had intra-team drama, it had crashes, it had cautions, it had some fantastic racing. I do think that we could have done with a couple of less cautions than we probably did get, but at the same time, the way it contributed to the end result, the show that was put on today, was absolutely fantastic. And we moved to Oran Park, which as I said, is the polar opposite of Watkins Glen in terms of layout. It's slow, it's twisty, barely any of the track is spent on full throttle other than the front straight. And we've got another 250-kilometer race on our hands. I'm really looking forward to it.
I am as well, and you can catch that, of course, on the Virtual Racing School Facebook page. You can catch it on the V8 Online YouTube. And, of course, you can catch that on iRacing Live. That's all we got time for, though, here with our coverage on iRacing Live. And, well, here with V8 Online, it has been sensational. A massive thank you to our cut price racing. We've got the likes of West End Mazda. We've also got the likes of Oceanic Sim Racing as well. We have to give a big thanks to. But that was Reese Gardner. That was Jay Kennedy. Kennedy behind the director's cameras for this one. And I, of course, am hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, the observer of sim racing. A classic in every given sense of the word. A big battle between two rivals, two teammates looking for that first victory. It's not the way the championship leader wanted it, but it is one that adds suspense and intrigue as we head to the Sydney 250. Have a good one.